Hey there, everyone. How you doing? My name is Christian Karasevich. I'm the content marketing manager at StreamYard, and one thing I wanted to do is, well, I want to do a little experiment here, starting in 2021. I want to make sure that we kick things off right. We get you all moving in the right direction with your live streams. And I know if you're part of, for example, our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups / make sure I get the right thing, / StreamYard community, by the way. Um, you can go there and you can always ask questions and whatnot. But I know a lot of times people have uh, questions and, maybe somebody doesn't get to them, or maybe it's a very specific question. So what I wanted to do is for the next 45 minutes, I just want to talk about improving your live streams, but I also want to help you all. So, for example, if you have certain questions, just put hashtag ask in the comments. I'll do my best to answer your question. And then, for example, if you do have a show already, so I know like I can't really necessarily bring it up on screen per se, but I'm happy to bring you backstage with me. Um, if you want to join backstage, for example, just you can just shoot me a message. If you go to like Facebook, for example, just put in my name and just shoot me a Facebook Messenger, and I will send you the link to join me backstage, and we can bring you on. We can talk about your stream. So with that, let me just scroll through these comments. And by the way, I'm sorry I didn't schedule this enough ahead of time. Holidays, obviously, kind of play into a lot of that, but ask away. So if you have any questions, put hashtag ask. Again, I mean, if you want to join our Facebook group, I'm going to put the link to that to join as well. And don't forget, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we've got a lot of really great things happening for StreamYard in 2021. For example, one thing I'm working on is Julie and we started a series called Learn with StreamYard, where we were basically going to have an interview that we do with somebody and they're going to teach you something. For example, we started off with one episode on how to get a slideshow presentation into StreamYard. But again, this is about helping you improve your streams. So feel free to put hashtag ask in the chat and I'll do my best to get to those. A couple other questions, I guess, about improving your streams. So I want to talk about a couple of things I've got going on here. So, for example, for an equipment standpoint, I'm currently using. I've got a webcam. I've got a Logitech Brio. I've got a ring light setup. So this is just my setup. It's not a whole lot actually. It's a Logitech Brio. It's a ring light. This behind me, for example, is a printed piece of vinyl, and I have it. It's built into one of those little stands that you basically can, you can pull it up and then you can take it down. Those work great. You can also buy, for example, the same kind of thing on Amazon. There are people that sell like, they sell like a brick wall or an office space or something like that. And those cost like probably about 20 bucks. So not terribly expensive. And then also as far as my equipment goes, so this is where I put the bulk of my budget. So for example, audio is the most important part of your live stream. You want to have audio, you want to have internet, and you want to have a good camera. And for my audio, I started out with a lot of different microphones. And I know if you followed us in the Facebook group, a lot of people were asking this week, they were asking about microphones. They wanted to level up their microphone for 2021. And, I started out with the Blue Yeti. That's the microphone I used. And I spent, I think, about $100 and I bought it because, hey, that's what my friends were using. And microphones are, they're somewhat subjective. So they partly depend on your voice pattern. So some people have certain voices where it will not sound right on a certain type of mic, and others will have other types of mics that they're using, and it'll sound really good. For example, somebody like two people using the same mic. So what I want to kind of get across to you is just the fact that uh, you want to make sure if you're using the onboard mic in your computer, definitely invest in getting another microphone because when you do turn that off, it is going to sound a lot different. For example, right now I'm running mine through a Rodecaster Pro. I then have this item right here. This is a DM1 Dynamite, basically, and what it is, the microphone I'm using is a Shure SM7B, and this microphone requires a lot of power. So when I plug it into this mixer, it needs something else to give it more amplification. If it's not strong enough, it's going to sound really low. And so I had to put this device here. You also might look at there's a cloud lifter, there's this item, there's a couple of other ones as well. But basically, what they do is they boost the gain, so the microphone then has enough power to be able to take your vocal pattern and and work with that. Something to keep in mind, by the way, with that is so microphone. This microphone is about $400. This is about $100 right here. This dynamite stick here. What it does though is it boosts the gain so much that I don't have to raise it very much on my mixer. So just something to keep in mind. So if your audio, for example, doesn't sound loud enough, yeah, you can increase the volume, but you may have, depending on the microphone you're using, what I want to get across is you may need some additional piece of hardware. For example, I had to get this because what I was doing, like it didn't matter what equipment I had, there's not enough power to support it. So just keep that in mind. And the same thing, by the way, applies to your computers as well. So if you're running a computer and let's say you're plugging in, a monitor and a webcam and a microphone that draws a lot of power, and you've got a hard drive or something else plugged in as well, everything that you are plugging into that computer is using up your resources. So you want to streamline it for the most part and just funnel everything to where everything is working, together. Because if you start put too much stuff and start and drain too much power, then it's gonna, your internet might then run into some problems, your system might run into problems, and so forth. So that's what I'm using. And then as far as headphones, I want to show you guys this. So I know you can get the ear pods. I know you can get like plug-in headphones, for example, the ones that come with or used to come with phones. I was using these at one point, by the way. These are just over-ear headphones. And what I want to show you guys is, this is to improve your stream. So, for example, right now, if I were to put these on, I look like I'm a DJ. This might not necessarily fit with the look that I'm going for my show. So, what I've actually done recently is I invested in in-ear in-ear monitors. So basically, as you can see here, they're these. They basically go behind my ears, and then if I have a long enough cable, I can run them in the back of my shirt, for example. This is what a lot of people do. They run it behind their shirt so it hides the wires. Granted, I didn't do a good job with this because I've sort of rushed here a little bit, but that basically was a good little trick right there to help you look more professional on camera. And then obviously you run the cable behind your shirt, and then it runs into your mixer or your computer, whatever you're running it into. So keep that in mind. But these, by the way, these are, here's the thing. This is about a $50. You can get these for $50 or less. These are Sennheisers. There's also some Shure SE215s. I think those are actually Bluetooth. So you could actually connect those to your computer, and you now have Bluetooth in your monitors. And these actually also do another thing. So unlike headphones, so if I put these on, these actually will block a lot of the noise. If I put just a regular pair of headphones in that I have lying around, they don't really block a lot of the noise, and then the speakers aren't very good usually. So that's the good thing about an in-ear monitor. And by the way, I got these at Guitar Center. I'd actually recommend, if you're in the market for a microphone or even headphones, for example, or in-ear monitors, go there and check them out. And the reason is because they have all of these microphones and all this equipment on display, and you can test it out and you can talk to them, about which one you actually need. But, keep in mind, the microphone that you're using for live video is basically the same exact thing that, a musician, for example, might be using. So, for example, the Shure microphone, this is what was it? Joe Rogan, he's using the Shure SM7B. You've got Dave Grohl, who's the lead singer lead singer of Foo Fighters. He's doing the same thing. So he's using the same mic. So you have various mics that people are using, but a lot of people are using the same types. So, and I'll also say, make sure when you're buying audio equipment, you put the investment in the audio equipment, because again, I mean, if you buy, let's say you buy a $20 mic to get started, there are some pretty decent $20 mics. Like if you want there's a Boya lavalier mic. It's pretty good, actually. It's only like about $20. But if you, buy that kind of mic, and then, 3 months later, maybe 6 months later, you're buying another mic, you're basically paying more for what you could have gotten with one really good microphone. So just kind of balance that out based on what your budget is. Okay. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go through the questions. And I want to first thank William Osorio here, by the way. Music for your ears. Yeah, he did say the device I'm using to plug my mic is called Phantom Power. Yes, absolutely. So you may need Phantom Power for your microphones. So depending on the type of microphone you get. So keep that in mind. Let's see what else we got here. So by the way, if you have any questions, just hit hashtag ask and I will answer your questions. If you do want to join, as I mentioned, just go to Facebook and just go to Messenger, or just shoot me a message and I'll shoot you the backstage link as well. And we can bring you on and we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about as far as live streaming. Cause again, this is about you. I'm just giving you my time because I want to help you all improve your live streams and make them better and make them the best that they can be. So feel free to shoot me any sort of, if you want to just join, go to Facebook Messenger. Yeah, Neil, by the way, yeah, joining a little late, but looking forward. Yeah, definitely. So if anybody has questions, just again, hit hashtag ask and let me know. Let's see what else we got. So yeah, so here's William's thing about phantom power. Yeah, definitely. And these are terminology that you want to also kind of learn as you're buying equipment. Because equipment is something that like you're going to buy it and then there's always going to be gear envy where you're going to buy it and they're going to want to buy something else. But the key thing is to get the right equipment to start. Let's see what else. By the way, let's also talk a little bit about mics here. So Mike Swaim says, hey, the Samson Q2U microphone works for me. Definitely. That is a really good mic as well. I think that's about, it's about $80 to $100. And speaking of that, I want to show you guys something. So when you go look at microphones, I'm going to use the Yeti as the example here. The Yeti, there is a USB model, so it'll plug directly into your computer. And that's what a lot of people will get. They'll get the USB model, but they make one that is USB and XLR. And so I want to just quickly talk about XLR. So basically this is what XLR looks like. You may have seen this. You may have been like, well, hey, what is this exactly? Here, let me see if I can hold that up. So this is an XLR connection. And this is actually the industry standard for microphones. So any sort of in-person production or even online virtual production, they're using XLR. And so this is actually what, you'll see a lot of mics and they'll be like, well, hey, I have an XLR connection. How do I connect that to my computer? And that's where you need a mixer or an audio interface. And you may want to use, for example, you got the Rodecaster Pro. You've also got the Scarlett Focusrite as well. You've got the Zoom, I think it's the Live Track L8. I think I got the name right there, but that is an option as well. And by the way, it's Zoom, the audio company, not the meeting one as well, by the way. So keep that in mind. They're there too. But this is an XLR connection. And so this is, for example, this is what I'm using on my mics, but you do get microphones that have both options. As Mike mentioned here, with the Samson Q2U, that's I think it's about an $80 to $100 microphone. And it's a really good microphone. And here's the cool thing about that mic. It has USB and XLR. So if, for example, you're looking to level up your live stream and you only have a USB port right now, and you don't have a mixer, you don't have an audio interface, then that's a really good mic to start with for $80. So for $80, you're able to connect via USB. And then as you grow your live stream, you can then add the piece of equipment that you need to connect the XLR connection to your computer. So basically the XLR plugs into the mixer and then the mixer plugs into your computer via USB. So definitely something worth checking out. There's also the ATR 2100, by the way, as well. That's another good mic. It's very comparable to the Samson Q2U. There's also, let's see what else. The Samson Q2U, the ATR 2100. Another good mic as well, by the way. And I'm not making this all about mics. I want to answer your questions. So if you have certain things, definitely let me know because I want to answer them and I want to even bring you on. So another thing as far as mics go, here's another really neat one. This is actually from Rode. So this is the Rode Wireless Go. And it actually comes with 2 units. And so basically the way this works is one of these will clip on, for example, myself, and the other one will plug into like my camera. So if I'm using, if I've got like a Sony Alpha A6400 or a Canon M50, or a DSLR, I can plug this into that camera. And then the other one is wireless. So then I can actually talk and have my audio be picked up wirelessly. By the way, these are really good for, they also work with smartphones as well. So if you do plug them into your smartphone, they can be useful there as well. Some people use them if they're doing an interview series. There's a neat little handheld that you can do where you can attach this to it, and you now have a wireless handheld mic. These, by the way, are a little on the pricey side. They're about $200. They connect via USB-C, but they are a great wireless microphone alternative. Definitely something worth checking out. By the way, thanks again, BS VP TV. Sorry, the audio company. Yeah, it's called xoom.com. But yeah, definitely check out their products. Um, and by the way, Happy New Year to everyone. So I hope everyone's having a really good New Year so far. Okay, so let me go through these questions. Let's see. So, well, as I guess here's where I start. So, okay, we talked microphones, cameras. By the way, you've got a lot of options. You can go with, you've got the built-in webcam. I will say, if you've, again, going back to the same thing with the microphone, uh, if you have a built-in webcam and that's what you're using right now, I'd consider upgrading to a Logitech, probably the C920. That's one of their I'll say basic webcams, but it's a good starter webcam. I'd recommend getting something like that. That will run you, I think, about $60. So if you go to get some of these, by the way, right now, just keep in mind that supply is somewhat constrained. So I know we're all up for going to Amazon. I would actually consider, if I'm buying a webcam or something, just in this day, I would consider going directly to the manufacturer. So like to logitech.com and making the purchase, only because you don't really know what you're going to be getting. And a lot of times, what will happen is the manufacturer will, they have a set price they want to sell it for, but Amazon might not be regulating it. And so somebody might be trying to sell you that for, $150, which might seem like a normal price, but it's actually a lot of markup. So I'd consider, if I'm getting a webcam, C920, if I want to increase that, again, I mean, there's also the Logitech Brio that does 4K, but you have to remember you're not necessarily going to be streaming in 4K, because a lot of your platforms aren't supporting 4K from a streaming perspective. They might, only support 1080p, for example. So you're not necessarily going to be utilizing the 4K aspect that you're paying for. But here's the thing, that can serve dual purpose. So what I would consider doing is I might consider using it for streaming and bumping it up to like the 1080p. And then if I want to then maybe do some recording or some offline recording or video to play during my live stream, that's when I can switch it to 4K and do a recording there. So definitely check that out. Okay. So let me go through here. Let me see if there's any questions people have. Remember, if you have questions, just put #ask. Let's see. So what kind of microphone? So Sandy Moonstone, can you elaborate what you mean by what kind of microphone? Um, I'm using a Shure SM7B, but there's a lot of options here. So I think I'd start with what your budget is. Inside of Tanveen's world, how can you start StreamYard? So you can go to streamyard.com/sign up, and I'll go ahead and I'll share that in the comments here. So if you want to check that out, it's streamyard.com/sign up. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Michael Daniels, yes. Thank you, Michael. Yes, working for StreamYard. By the way, Michael has some really good tutorials. If you're interested in those, I've been a guest on his show before, but he talks a lot of tech and does a lot of neat little hacks. So definitely check his channel out. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see, Harrison. So Harrison says, hey, I have a snowball mic. He's talking about the blue snowball mic. Again, I mean, it's this little round mic. It sits on your desk. It's fairly portable. Again, I mean, if that's what you have, the key thing is making sure you have the right type of microphone for your environment as well. For example, some of them, like the Blue Yeti, for example, has on the back, there's a button and you can change the different voice patterns. And so, you'll hear condenser mics, you'll hear dynamic mics and so forth. But one thing to keep in mind, by the way, is make sure first off, I'd say read the instructions of the microphone. Because a lot of people, for example, the Blue Yeti, they actually hold them the wrong way. They might have the wrong voice pattern. So I'll give you an example. So the way that the Yeti works, the cool thing about it is you can switch the voice patterns. So let's see if I can do this. So some of the microphone patterns, they will capture, omnidirectional, basically. They'll capture everything that is around them. So as I'm speaking in the microphone, let's say somebody is also like, if say I'm in a noisy room or there's, I'm in a coffee shop or something like that, I'm picking up all the mic noise coming in every single direction on the mic because it knows to listen for that. So then you can change the pattern as well. There's one that's shaped like a bean option, or a heart. And so basically that one, for example, just picks up this directly into the mic. So anything that's around the mic, it's not necessarily picking that up. So for example, if you're in a room that happens to have a fan on or an air conditioning, or you're really close to that, some of the mics will pick that up because you have the wrong pattern. So you want to make sure you get the right pattern on your mic. Let me see what else we have here. So, by the way, again, if you want to come on, by the way, Neil, I don't know if you want to come on, by the way, if you want to join me and have any questions, we can talk shop. Let me know. Let me see what else we got here. So Neil says, if you're recording the Brio but stream on a C920, when you do your show, will there be a difference in the quality? Will the playback video look better than the live? I actually I haven't tested this, but I think that if you set the settings high enough, if I'm doing just a standard recording, I think you probably will get a better quality because you're not using your internet, for example. So I think that you may get, and you kind of have to look at what you're doing it for. So, for example, if I'm streaming and people are going to be viewing it on a mobile device, I don't need 4K necessarily. So I'd say kind of play with that and see what's going to work the best because it also depends on your graphics card and all that other stuff as well that goes with it. But definitely check that out. Let me see. So I use the. Here's another one. So Erin says she uses the Fine. I think I got that right. USB mini gooseneck from Amazon for $20. But yeah, exactly. I mean, it's about leveling up your live. So in terms of like audio, I mean, it's if you've been using, for example, the onboard microphone on your computer, you're going to hear, here's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear all the tapping that people are doing on their keyboards. You're going to hear any kind of noise on a desk because that microphone is just, it's not a great microphone that's built into the laptops a lot of times. So, having just that, that small increase can make a big difference in your show. And the key thing to remember is audio is the most important part of your live stream. So, if people if they see a blurry video or it's not super crystal clear, they're going to still listen as long as the audio is good. So just keep that in mind. So I also saw another question here. So somebody was asking about lighting, by the way. And what questions do you have about lighting? So I'll tell you what I have for lighting. But the key thing you're going to want to, the key thing with lighting is going to be this. So, and I'll get to these other questions here in a second. But okay, so for lighting, I literally have just one light in my office right now. It's a ring light. That's all I have. And it's actually positioned a little bit above my head. So here's the thing. If I position it a little bit lower, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see, you'll get shine on my forehead, for example. You may get shadow, for example, depending on how I'm positioning it. So instead of it being hitting me directly, maybe it's hitting off to the side. So you may get some shadow. As you can see, there's a little bit of shadow here like that. So, so I need to move. I need more light because I need to fill in the light around me. Does that make sense? Hopefully to everyone. But something to keep in mind, for lighting, there are lots of different lights. So a ring light, is it's a good light to, a lot of people that do makeup, for example, they use a ring light. So if you go to like a Sephora or any sort of makeup store, you're going to see the ring light there, and they do it because it's lighting around the whole face. It's great for photography, for portraits, things like that. So definitely consider a ring light. Again, also though, you can have a softbox. So a softbox is going to be harsh light, but it's covered up by a filter. And so that filter is going to diffuse the amount of light. So it's going to limit the amount of light that's coming in. So again, I mean, if you go to like a movie set or a TV show or anything like that, they have very specific lights for different things. Like if they want to cast a certain, if they want to create a different tone. And that's the thing, by the way, lighting is important because it also impacts the tone of your live stream. So if I'm in a place and like, let's say this half of my face is like covered, it's dark and it gives off a certain feel versus I've got direct light coming in, hitting my face to where it doesn't look, for example, like a suspenseful like live stream. Does that make sense? So as far as lights, yeah, so you can go with the ring light. Another light that Paul Peck drywall tube here mentioned is the Elgato lights. Elgato makes some really good lights, and actually, let me see if I can pull these up. But pull these up while I'm talking to you guys. And so they make a couple different lights. They make the Elgato Key Light. Make the Key Light Air. And the difference really between the Key Light and the Key Light Air, part of it's the amount of light that they actually will put out. So let me see if I can pull up the key lights here. And there's another cool little feature, by the way, with the Elgato lights. So give me 1 second. Let's open that, and let's open this. And by the way, as I mentioned, this is about helping you improve your live stream. So if you want to actually ask a question, like I said, just go to Facebook Messenger, shoot me a message, and I will happily bring you on. I want to bring you on because this is about you. It's about helping you level your stream up. So ask away, by the way, if you have questions, if you're like, hey, I have a question. This is my show structure, or here's the name of my show and so forth. Let me know. Okay, so let's bring this up. Okay, so I want to first start out with this light. So this is the Elgato Key Light. And like I said, they make two different kinds of lights. Okay, so here's this one. Let's solo that for you guys. Okay, so this is the Key Light. And basically the way these lights work, so they're really cool. So they're basically really small. So they can clip, this one, for example, clips to a desk. But it's a very small panel. Here, let me actually do this. Okay, so the way this light works is it's actually a very, very, very thin light. So the great thing about the key lights, they clip to a desk, for example, and then they're also they put out a lot of light, so you'll have plenty of light. And then they have a really cool feature. So if you happen to have a Stream Deck, so I know a lot of people have asked about integration for StreamYard with the Stream Deck, and I know it's something we're working on. It's on our roadmap. The lights can be controlled via the Stream Deck. So, for example, if you have an office and you put your lights down, and every time, like let's say you have a small amount of workspace. If you use, for example, a softbox or a ring light or something like that, you're always going to have to move them around, if you need more space in your office. But the key thing about the key lights is that they can clip to a desk. And then once you put them on, they actually have this cool feature where they can be controlled via a Stream Deck. So via a push button device. So it's very similar. It's not this device. So this is an A10 Mini Pro, but it's a touchscreen device of sorts. I actually have one here. I have to go get it, but they have a touchscreen device, and basically when you hook the Elgato lights into it, you can push a button on the Elgato Stream Deck, and it will control your lights. I.e., you can raise or lower the brightness of it. You can turn them on. You can turn them off, and so forth. So definitely something worth checking out, the Elgato Key Light. Now the key lights, they're about $200 a piece, and that may seem, and there are various price points on lights. But the great thing about these is, they're very small. They also have, as I mentioned, they got some cool tech packed into them. So if you spent $200 on a 3-point light kit, for example, with the green screen, you're going to have to replace the light bulbs. You're going to probably actually spend a lot more money for that kind of set in the long run versus the key light, which, they clip onto your desk, for example. They have the tech to be able to be controlled via a Stream Deck, so you can, run your broadcast a lot easier. In addition to that, they also are they're pretty portable, actually, because they're small and nice and thin. So that's the Elgato Key Light. And then they also make another one, and this one you'll probably also see if you go to for example, you can go to a Best Buy even for this one, and this one's the Key Light Air, and this is basically just a smaller version of their light, but this one doesn't actually clip on. That's another thing to remember. So it doesn't clip on. So this is the Key Light Air, and so it doesn't clip on. It doesn't it sits on your desk, which is not a bad thing, but you do have to kind of weigh the balance there. For me personally, I would rather have something that is clipped onto my desk that's out of the way, as opposed to I have to move these lights. Now, what you could end up doing, by the way, is you could get the Elgato Key Lights, and you could have a 3-point lighting system. So I could have, let's see if I get this right. So I could have a key light here, a key light here. And then if I need to fill in some spaces, I could get the key light air. And since it's not putting out as much light, it would be able to fill in some of the shadows. For example, if I need a hair light or something like that, to help light my scene a lot better. So definitely check that one out. Let me look through the rest of these questions, by the way. Let's see. So, Letitia, yeah, you could totally, yeah. So you could totally come on. Um, doesn't mean, we can, yeah, if you put yourself in audio mode, if you're, I think if you're on StreamYard or something, you can, if you put yourself in audio only mode, that would actually be good. Do me a favor. Yeah, do me a favor. Just send me a Facebook message and I'll shoot you the link to join the backstage area and I'll bring you in and we can answer your question. So let's see. So Koopa Kings. Okay, so how do channel reviews work? So I'm doing a live stream review. So basically, I can bring you on and you can talk about your live stream. Like you can tell people, hey, this is what my live stream is about, and here's the challenge I'm running into. Some people might say, well, hey, I have a problem sticking to like, hey, my live streams are like 3 hours long and nobody's tuning in, for example, or it could be, hey, my live streams are 3 hours long. How do I like better manage the comments? Maybe you have a question about your topic and so forth. So we can talk about that. But just go to, if you just go to, here, I'll just actually just put the link here. This will be a link to my Facebook profile, actually. And you just go on there and you can just shoot me a Facebook message and I'll bring you on. So let me do that. Okay. So here's, okay, so there's that. So, Koopa King or Letitia, if you have questions and you want to join, just shoot me a message. I will then bring you in. I'll send you the link to join. Okay, let's see what else we have here. So, okay, so let's see. InvestStream is asking about while live streaming on StreamYard, many times see my audio slightly out of sync with the video. Someone suggested changing the nitrate, but there's no way to change that on StreamYard. Um, I'm not sure what nitrate we're referring to is. Are we referring to maybe, um, uh, I don't know, Neil, by the way, feel free to like also respond to that if you have any questions. Or if you maybe you have some insight into that, but I think you might be talking about like if there's a delay. So depending on so for example, um, if you're using a camera, for example, and say you've got your audio plugged in as well, you can sometimes have a delay in that sense, and that can kind of be because of the sometimes it's the internet. For example, your internet just can't keep up. The other thing also could be the fact that the camera, for example, might have to be changed a little bit. Like for example, I know a lot of people that are running through like a Rodecaster Pro, they might have to use the camera one way and then change the basically they delay the audio so that then it syncs up. But I would say this, I mean, just you are going to have to play around it, but if you explain what nitrate is that you're referring to, I'm not following what you're saying there. Let's see. So Neil also, another thing, Neil says, hey, use a ring light, works great. Lucky to be in front of a window. And I would say that's another thing also. If you've got a window, open up those blinds. For example, pay attention to when the sun, where it rises and where it sets, and how that impacts, for example, your ability to have lighting. So, for example, that's a good natural source of light if you have a consistently sunny day and you need more light, for example, and you don't want to put a whole bunch of lights in your office. Because again, as you add lights as well, you add heat and everything else to your office, then you have to put the AC on or a fan or something like that. And then there's noise potentially during your live stream. So definitely pay attention to that. That can give you some good lighting. Let's see. Sweeney Dustin here says uses Newer. Yeah, affordable. And yep. Newer is another good brand as well. Definitely check that out. They make some really good, they make good lighting products. Let's see. So they're good, cheap option. Yeah. Another one for Newer. Let's see. So InvestStream, do me a favor. You said you have some audio video sync issues. So can you just maybe elaborate on that, or I can bring you in and we can just talk about that. Let's see. Another question here from, where is it? Okay, so Aaron says, I wear glasses and ring lights reflect and it looks weird. I found a gooseneck floor lamp for $30 that I can angle above me with reflecting on my glasses. Fantastic idea. So that's another thing to keep in mind, by the way, if you're using a ring light and you wear glasses, the light does for example, the light does a great job at putting out light, but if you have glasses on, for example, um, you're going to basically end up with alien eyes. So you're going to see these little round circles in your eyes. And so one thing you want to do with that is um, you may want to change the light, for example. So that's the thing. A lot of people they just buy the one light, and so you may want to have some different lights. You may want to try getting some reflective film, for example. You do have to kind of keep in mind also like the stuff that's behind you. A lot of times for a stream, sometimes people will put a TV up and they'll do a glossy TV screen behind them, and then and it's reflecting funny, or it's reflecting and then it's bouncing the light off. You do have to keep in mind with that sort of thing. So for example, if you've got a TV screen, maybe what you want to do is use like a matte screen. So, for example, a lot of people when they're doing when a designer is doing design work on a laptop, for example, a lot of times you will see them they're using a matte screen if they can get it because they don't necessarily want the glossy reflective screen because it does change the look of the colors on screen and things like that. But in your case, if you're live stream, if I put up a TV, for example, and it's glossy and that light is then pushing into me, it's going to reflect off that screen. And if I'm trying to use the screen for something, then it's going to be hard to actually then show that to people. So, it'd be hard for them to see what's on screen. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Jennifer, good questions. Okay, what can I do with the Elgato Stream Deck to help her live stream while waiting for StreamYard to work directly with it? Okay, so here's a couple of things actually. So I have Stream Deck. One of the features that I use it for is, well, I use two features actually. One is a timer, so you can add a timer to your Stream Deck, and the timer could be a way, for example, to help you keep your show on track. When I first, for example, started live streaming a number of years ago, I was using, well, I wasn't using any timer, and my stream would be like 3 hours long. And while I enjoyed being on for 3 hours, the thing is, you also have to be mindful of your audience's time. And so, if, for example, you're doing a 3 hour show, you want to make sure that it's very focused and very direct, and that you're sticking to what your topic is going to be about. And so what I might do for the Stream Deck is it's got buttons that you can program. You can put a timer in there in the Stream Deck software. And so I might say, okay, if I'm going to as I'm building, and I'm going to take this a step back. As I am building a run of show, this is a template for my show, what it's going to be about. Um, what I would recommend doing for something like that is that's where I would actually consider uh, writing out how long I want each of those segments to be. And what I mean by that is, if I do a show and it's like first set your boundaries. So if your show is going to be 60 minutes long, set it for 60 minutes and then figure out what segments you have in your show. Like if you watch a news show or you watch any sort of movie, like there's always usually an amount of time something is on or working. And so what I might do is I might say, okay, let's do a run of show, 1 hour. Here are the different segments that I have. And so, by the way, I have a run of show template. Let me see if I can find this for you all. Um, let's see. Actually, yeah, let me see if I can actually. Here you go. Okay, so let me go ahead and try to bring this up. Actually, so I have a run of show template that I can share with you all. And this is basically just it's a Google sheet. And as you can see here, I mean, this is basically just it's a very basic spreadsheet. So it's what's the segment, what's the duration, what's the topic, the speaker, what's actually coming on screen, and so forth. So like this is your guide to help you run a more efficient live stream. And so back to Jennifer's question. So um, what you might want to do with the Stream Deck is if you build out your run of show, then set up various timers. And these timers are going to help you. For example, if you set up like, hey, I have a 5 minute segment, I have a 5 minute button. So as I'm doing my show, I can push the button and it actually will count down on the Stream Deck the amount of time that you put in. A couple other features that I think are also really useful. So for those of you who want to use, if you're using Twitter, for example, um, there's a great feature that's built into the Stream Deck, and you can change your and not your username. It can change the name of your Twitter account. So, for example, I have one that I do for my show, Social Chatter, and um, I hit the button, and what it does is it changes my name on it changed my name on my Twitter account, and it adds basically a live icon. So it adds like a little icon that I put in with my name of my account. And so it will change that. Now, in addition to that, there's also another feature where right now what you can do with it is you can set up a custom tweet. So every time you go live, you can push that button and it will automatically send out a tweet to your account, or you can set it up for various other accounts. So the thing is that that's a good way to like, that way I don't have to go to Twitter and, type out my tweet and add my image. It's literally a button that I push. And when I push it, it sends out the tweet with the image. It has a link or whatever I've written there. And so this way I am able to let my audience know that I'm going live. So I think those are some of my favorite things, at least right now. Another couple of things you can do, depending on the lights, as I mentioned, if you've got the Elgato key light or the key light air, you can control the lighting there as well. Other things you can do with the Stream Deck, it's got some really useful features for launching applications. So if you can actually have a macro. So you could, if your run of show says, hey, I'm going to arrive 15 minutes beforehand. This is what all my segments are going to be like. Let's say you need to open up StreamYard. Let's say you need to open up, your YouTube channel and, maybe open up, I don't know, like a Finder on your Mac or something like that. You can run all of that as one button as well. So when somebody pushes that button, it will launch all those things for you. So you could have one button that's like, hey, go live. When you push it, it then runs all those other things. Does that make sense? So definitely check that one out, Jennifer. And if you have questions, just reach out to me. Okay. And as far as being behind the scenes, I mean, again, same type of stuff. So for example, if you're running the show behind the scenes and like what the segments are, that's where I think I would definitely use it. And I definitely think that helping you get your show like prepared. So like if you've got this run of show template and you want to pull it up, you can easily just do that. That would be something worth checking out. Okay. So let me go through some more of these and I'm going to try to get to everyone's questions. Let's see. So, yep. So Paul also mentioned, by the way, with the Elgato key lights, you can also control them through your phone if you don't have the Stream Deck. Yep. So lots of usefulness. So if you have a smartphone, you can also tap into that. Let's see. Where are we at? Lots of questions, by the way. Okay, so Rob is asking about his header. I'm wondering if Robert, if you're talking about like a YouTube channel header or are you talking about your thumbnail? If you're talking about a thumbnail, I'd always recommend by the way, InvestStream, it's okay. I'll chat with you offline as well if you have questions. So Rob's asking, I know my header needs some work. What else can you do? So one thing I'd always recommend is create a series of overlays for your live stream. And you don't need to complicate this. You don't want to have like 50 different overlays or backgrounds that you're running. You just need some basic things like set up an intro, for example. So that's the graphic as you're setting up your broadcast in StreamYard. Set up the overlay so that that's like what it's actually going to be that people are going to see. So for example, what I do for one of mine is I have my show name. So it's called Social Chatter, Social Media Marketing Talk Show. And then on that, I have a couple of things. I have a hashtag. So if my show is branded, I put a hashtag on my overlay. And then I also have a URL that I've set up. And the URL, for example, instead of having to tell people, go to YouTube and search for me or go to my Facebook page and hope that they go there and then can find the stream. What I do is I set up a custom URL and you can use various tools for this. Like your website host has this functionality. It's called a redirect. You also can set one up through various tools. Like there's one called like Tasty Links and Pretty Links and so forth. And what they do is they allow you to set up a custom URL so that, for example, if somebody went to like my URL is socialchefs.com/live. It's set up to redirect to the place that I want them to go. And that's to a YouTube channel. Alternatively, you could also set up a landing page on your website where somebody puts that URL in and then they can go to your page on your website and view your content as well. So they don't have to necessarily be on the social platform necessarily. It's a good way to get them there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. So, and by the way, keep asking questions. Use hashtag ask, and I'll answer this. Let's see. Neil says the run of show. It's almost what we use. We definitely need it for complicated shows. Yep. And run of show does not have to be complicated. As I mentioned, I mean, this is just something I set up. It's just a basic framework. And so, you don't need to complicate it. You just want to have something to help guide you. Or if you need to actually give this to somebody, it's great for that as well. And what I'm going to do actually here, let me see if I can grab the link. Yeah, here we go. I'll actually drop this into the comments here. So if you do want to check out this run of show, definitely go check that out. It's something that we've got out there. So that should be the run of show. If you all want to check that out and build that out for your own show. Let's see. Let's see. And by the way, yeah. So to answer also Neil's question, yeah, this is something I wanted to test out. So I wanted to see if this is like something I should do every week or, once a month or twice a month. So if you have any feedback about that, by the way, do me a favor, just leave them in the comments and I will definitely take that into consideration because it's something I want to do for you all to help you all improve your streams. Okay, let's see. So let's see. Okay, so Walter's got a question about some good StreamYard templates you can recommend for your live stream on StreamYard. Okay, so let's see. So, well, here's what I did. So for overlays and backgrounds, I built a branded set of graphics, and there's lots of sites you can go to. Like you can go to Fiverr, you can go to Canva even and build this. You can go to Easel. I would personally like just getting started. They don't have to be complicated. And so, like one thing I did, for example, is I personally worked with Easel on a series of templates. So I don't know if you all want to check these out. These are ones you can check out. They're basically branded overlays and free templates. And the thing is, these templates are templates that you can use for StreamYard or in various other projects. So, like, if you're going to do like your own personal recording, you might want to maybe use these. If you're going to just use them for live streaming, you can bring them into the StreamYard dashboard. They're located under the brands tab. And then you can add your overlay or your background if you want to add those as well. But I'm going to drop a link to that article actually as well. So this is something that I've worked with them on because there's lots of different, basically we went over various types of overlays. So for example, having the intro, having, if you've got a guest you're bringing on, having a title slide with the person. If there's various segments, those are useful. If there's an outro or a lower third, those are also useful to bring up as well. So definitely check those out. Let's see. Neil's World, yeah, definitely. We'll check out. I'll put that down as a feature request about screen sharing on mobile. I'll definitely put that in to our team. Let's see. So, let's see. Okay, so BSVPTV says, "What does echo cancellation auto adjust mic volume do?" Okay, so we've actually got a knowledge base tool on that. So if you go to support.streamyard.com, actually, let me see if I can find this for you. We got quite a few people asking about echo cancellation before. Basically, what's going to do is if you're like in a noisy environment, you don't have headphones, then you want to enable the echo cancellation in your studio. And what that's going to do is add some audio processing. So like when you turn it on, you might not see it, but it's going to do stuff behind the scenes to help your audio to help improve it. So here's more on echo cancellation. By the way, the people in Facebook Messenger, I didn't forget about you. Let me get to you. So let's see what we got here. By the way, keep asking questions, hashtag ask, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, so good question. Yeah, so let me do this. Let me bring this person in. And then I'm also going to bring Letitia in as well. So we're going to bring on Bruce and Letitia. They say they have some questions that they want to ask on camera. Fantastic. I love it, by the way, that you also want to come on camera. That's one thing with, like, I do these because I like live streaming and I like helping everyone. And so a lot of people just want to, I'd say this: if you're not comfortable being on camera, here's the thing: this is great practice because all you're doing is popping on camera, asking me a question, and we're going to talk about it with everyone else. And the great thing is, like, I'm seeing so many fantastic comments from people. So uh, it's great to also then be able to feature you and to answer your question. And you have to remember, like, everyone has been in the same boat. So, like, when I first got started, as I mentioned, I bought a microphone off of what people recommended, but it wasn't the right thing for what I wanted to do. And the same thing is, like, for live stream, if people have questions, um, they might be afraid to ask them. So don't be afraid to come on camera and ask. I want to actually talk to you. Okay, so let's bring on Bruce. So Bruce, how you doing?
Good. So I've been watching your show for a number of months. I've been on StreamYard since, I think, March of last year. It's been last year already.
Yes. So what questions do you have?
So I've got a number of clients who I'm working with to do their, like, behind the scenes of their shows.
Okay.
And just last week, the host needed to cancel their show, but it was already scheduled out.
Okay.
And they wanted to schedule out for like mid-January. And so we had issues trying to reschedule it because Facebook and LinkedIn don't allow more than 7 days in advance.
Yes.
So my question is, what do you do in those cases where you need to reschedule a show? Can you, if it's less than 7 days, or if it's more than 7 days?
Okay. So if it's less than 7 days, you unfortunately have to, it's best to just delete it and redo it because so this is where live streaming does get a little bit tricky. Facebook, for example, has their 7-day limit. I don't think YouTube has a limit on theirs. And then LinkedIn
Yep.
has one where you can't change the date after you schedule it or the time and whatnot. So what I would suggest doing, and I actually had to do this last week myself. We were trying to broadcast, I think it was on Christmas Eve or something. And so what we ended up doing was we just deleted it and ran a new stream. The best thing, it's unfortunate you have to do it that way, but it was the easiest way to just quickly delete it and then rechange it. Again, that does also mess with your workflow potentially as well, because I'm sure you have a workflow that you use. Like, for example, maybe you have a custom URL you send out. You now have to go change
Right.
the URL.
And they're on multiple channels. I think they had 4 Facebook channels they're going to.
Yeah.
In addition to LinkedIn and YouTube.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's because of how each platform is different. So, for example, on LinkedIn, I was not able to change the date and time. I had to literally delete the stream, and then if I wanted to redo it, I had to make another one. Now, as far as doing this in the future, so this is another thing that I personally do. You probably do this. I keep a Google spreadsheet of all of my shows. I have the date, I have the time, I have the show episode, I've got the guest, I've got myself, I've got my co-host, I've got like their handles in there. So I basically keep a spreadsheet of all of this. Now, what I do is, because I know that Facebook doesn't allow me to schedule 7 days in advance, I will. I just know I have basically a schedule. It's on my calendar every single week. A couple of days beforehand, I go and schedule the broadcast for the following week. That's unfortunately the only way that I can get around that limitation, because there's not really a way to get around it. Facebook doesn't want you to basically book too many ahead of time. The only other way you could theoretically get around that is if you drive your live stream directly on to YouTube, maybe. Not saying not saying, oh, leave the platform, but YouTube allows you to schedule, fairly far into the future, as opposed to Facebook, which says 7 days. So that's kind of the only way to potentially get around that. If you have big YouTube audience, you can be talking to your YouTube audience, letting them know, and hopefully they will then help you with some of the sharing. Does that help?
Yep. So the idea is just to cancel the shows, maybe write a little apology note and reschedule it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately the only way to do it, because they don't, like, there's too many little nuances to each one. So Facebook, for example, says, hey, it has to be one way, and LinkedIn says, well, no, we want it another way. To make it easier on yourself, I would just cancel it. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Excellent. And then one last question is, would you rather schedule an event directly on Facebook or schedule the show through StreamYard?
I personally, I schedule it all through StreamYard, but that's because it also helps save me a lot of time, versus going directly into StreamYard, doing a schedule there, and then going into Facebook and then trying to create an event. Um, but that's the way I work. And I also look at it like this. I like events, but I don't know how many people actually are using events. I don't know if y'all have checked out any of your analytics or asked some of the people who are actually tuning in
Okay.
to see if they actually do check out the events. At one point, I used to use events 100%. And then I stopped using it. And that was only because I said, well, hey, you know what? There's all this extra work I have to do. I also need to, produce the show and, get the graphics done and so forth. And so I cut little things out here and there that I didn't see the value in. But it's going to vary depending on it's going to vary depending on who is, who your audience is, who's tuning in and whatnot.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.
Great.
Okay, so let's go ahead and bring on Letitia. So Letitia said she has some questions as well. By the way, if you have any, if you do want to come backstage, just do me a favor, just shoot me a Facebook Messenger message, and I did drop my profile URL in there. So just all you have to do is send me a message, and then if you just say, "Hey, I sent something," I'm happy to also, go check it out. Okay, let me go through these questions real quick. So Neil has another question. I sometimes do both scheduling and live stream through StreamYard and create an event on Facebook. It's good for notifications. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you want to experiment with this. So what works for this is the thing. Like when people say, this is if it's live streaming, if it's social media, like everybody has different tips and different things that work for them. And it depends on your industry, but it depends on your audience as well. And how they're tuning in, when they're tuning in, where they're tuning in, what the nature of the subject is. So it's all subjective. You can use some of these things as like guidelines, but make sure you ask your audience and see what they actually, what they want to actually, what they need the help with. For example, like if they're like, hey, I don't use Facebook events, for example, you know, maybe they want something else. But again, test it out. And I like Neil's suggestion. It's good for notifications and reminders. Definitely, that's a key thing because not everyone uses a calendar. So it's good to if they're on Facebook and it pops up, very useful for them. Okay, Letitia, actually, if you can come back in, you were just there. Let me see. Come on, hopefully with a question here. By the way, again, I mean, if you have questions, just yeah, so she's going to come back in here in a second. Fantastic. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Remember, if you have any questions, just put hashtag ask. And again, I mean, this review is something that I want to do. I want to try to do it at least once a month, twice a month. I'm happy to do it every week as well. If you actually want me to do that, you just need to tell me. I'm again basing this off of, just my own intuition, like what I think you want. So if you want something else, just tell me. And I'll do my best to work with you. Okay, so let's see. Just waiting for her. She's switching devices. And in the meantime, let me go look at the comments. Let's see. What mic do I suggest on a budget? So Neil's World. Okay, so Neil, what's your budget? Let's start there. And by the way, I did give some recommendations earlier. If you're looking at like the $80 to $100 range, there's quite a few you can go with. You can go with the let's see what we have. The Shure SM58 is a good XLR microphone. That's about $100. The Audio Technica ATR 2100. That's about a $80 to $100 mic. There's also the Samson Q2U. Again, same type of mic as the ATR 2100. That's about $80 to $100 mic. One thing you're going to see, by the way, is you're going to see a lot of people are asking, or they're giving the same recommendations because the thing with microphones, they don't change very much. And then if you want to go more expensive than that, I'd recommend the Shure MV7. That's actually a new microphone from Shure. So it's just like this one. This is just XLR though, and it's been around for a long time. The MV7 is, it can be controlled via an app, but it also has USB and XLR options. Okay, let's go and bring Letitia on. Letitia, how you doing?
How you doing, Christian? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. First and foremost, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I am a sales and systems strategist. I have clients all over the world.
Yeah.
And many of them are on here because I put the link in our Patreon. But
Awesome.
I have two questions actually. I don't
Sure.
know if you know this or maybe you've answered this already. I don't know if you heard of Periscope. It's about to go away on March 31st.
Hmm.
Uh, is there a way to still do live streaming on Twitter, or is that something like Instagram where we can't really stream like simulcasting? That's what I do. But
Yeah.
when I stream, I'm streaming everywhere.
Okay.
Um, is there an integration for that yet, or?
So Twitter hasn't really changed it up yet. They've made an announcement that they're going to be getting rid of Periscope. They haven't said what that's going to actually become. Um,
Mhm.
this is, I work in social media. I've worked in social media for like since like 2006.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. I suspect, if you look at the trends and the direction things have been going, everyone is coming out with their own live products. So you've got Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, and Twitter has Periscope. So
Yeah.
I suspect that it's going to become Twitter Live. They haven't made any mention about what that's going to become. I know that we get a lot of people asking about that. I'd say in the meantime, you can still stream to Periscope.
Yes,
I
you
would,
can.
so you still stream to Periscope, and I'd say still do it because a lot of people, even you have to think about this is the one great thing about Twitter. Twitter's pretty wide open.
Yes,
I
it
don't
is.
have to actually find somebody, and then connect with them and then find all their stuff. With Twitter, let's say I don't have an audience on Periscope. All I have to do is just start streaming. You might bring in other people that you don't know, that happen to come across your stream and they're like, wow, like I'm gonna say like, oh, it changed my life type thing. But it's one of those things where people see it and they use it as like like if you're not ever like open to like learning from other people or checking other people's things out, like you're closing yourself off. And so the great thing about streaming to Periscope, even if you have no audience there, is that you could find your audience there, and then they'll stick with you. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very
I'm so
cool.
sorry. I look like a hot mess. I'm a mom. So
No, not a big deal. Not at all. Not a big deal at all. No.
my last question is,
Yeah, sure.
I teach my clients live streaming. I've been
Okay.
teaching live streaming. I started off live streaming on Periscope. This is why I had that question because a lot
Yeah.
of my following came from that platform.
Okay.
But as far as people who are just getting started with the
Okay.
streaming thing and just live streaming, period, obviously you and I both know that people can overcomplicate the process. It's
Definitely.
just simple as hitting that go live button and just stating your perspective on a particular topic that you feel that you are educated on. What would you have to say who people who are just getting started with StreamYard? Because I share my affiliate link out all the time to my clients.
Mhm.
And what are some of the things that you would say to people who are just getting started on streaming on this platform?
I think the first thing is going to be what is the topic you're going to be talking about. So you have to make sure that there's alignment there. So for example, there's a lot of people that they tell you, hey, just push the go live button, and like I like the fact that they're wanting to do that, but you have to make sure that what you're streaming is something your audience is interested in. And so, for example, I could go over to YouTube and I could, if I'm not sure, well, am I on the right subject? Write about like put in the terms that you might search for. I don't know if you all had a chance to check out Daniel Batal and D Nemen. I think it was last weekend. They did a YouTube channel review, and they were going through, for example, some of the different channels that people were doing, and like some of the people had just gotten started, and they had really good, for example, YouTube thumbnails, but the title of their video was not the topic that people would be searching for. So they were using, like, for example, if I'm in an industry and I'm putting very specific terms in there, the only people that are probably going to know that are the people that are in that industry. And so you may need to bring your content down to align with your audience, so that you're on the same level with them. By the way, I'm going to unmute you, by the way, just in case. There. Actually, no, sorry. Feel free to unmute
I
yourself.
want to make sure I have 5 kids, so sometimes they could scream at any moment. So I want to make sure people can hear without being interrupted. But that is so true. And I love that you mentioned that. It's like, if you're overcomplicating and you're not speaking in terms of where your audience is at right now,
Mhm.
you just lose the message that you're trying to convey. So I'm
Yeah.
excited, and I have to say, just to the viewers, go live. Like
Mhm.
say, do everything that Christian just mentioned, and consistency is everything, right,
Yeah.
Christian? It's like you
Mhm.
can't just do it today and then decide to go live again 2 days, 3 days later.
Right.
It's just like you got to just stay consistent, and that's just so important. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, those were my main two questions. But thank you
Well,
again for doing this.
and you're welcome. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. So as
Yeah, go
far as
ahead.
okay, so if somebody is just getting started, the things
Mhm.
I would always encourage them to do. So, they don't, for example, don't make the investment into a $400 microphone, for example.
Yeah.
You need to have sound content, and
Mhm.
you need to have a community.
That's
So,
right.
for example, you can go live, but like, let's say you don't have the community,
Yep.
they can kind of work against you,
Yep.
because if, for example, if you don't have the community and you're going live, and let's say you made a $400 investment in a microphone, just a microphone, for example,
Mhm.
having all the equipment's not going to change the live stream itself.
That's right.
Like,
That's
so
right.
if you don't have the community, you need to start building the community. And
Mhm.
then as you go live, it's going to be much easier to get people to tune in. Um,
Mhm.
and it's also sort of disheartening if you go live and there's no one watching. Well, what do you do? Like,
Yeah.
and you have to look at the time you're putting into it, the time
Mhm.
investment as well. So my key piece of advice would be, make sure you have a sound topic, that you have a topic that people are interested in, that works on live streaming. Set, to your point, be consistent with how often you're going to go live, but also with the amount of time you're going to spend on your live stream. So, for
Yeah.
example, if I were doing this live stream, and like, let's say I'm an hour plus in right now, an hour and change, and there were 5 people on, or even
Mhm.
less than that, um, I I might say, well, hey, maybe I need to shorten this, or I need to be paying attention to the numbers and see, okay, well, when are people dropping off?
Yeah.
So make sure your topic makes sense.
Mhm.
Next thing is, and again, some of
And
these
and
things,
you're telling people to share too. That's important. So if you do see the numbers rising, people love that sense of reciprocity where like, oh, this is good information. Let me share, let me tag, like how when you just went live, I put my link in my client group. I'm like, hey guys, come on, let's listen to this information. And that's one thing about 2021. We need to start, sharing great information because there's so much bad information being spread across social media.
yeah,
You know, you're like a spider, just web out and just
mhm,
share it out to people. I think if you tell your audience what to do, they're going to do it.
yep,
If you're just making it just a conversation and not telling them to bring people in also,
right,
it's like bringing people into the dinner table. Who else wants to eat?
mhm.
That's important too. Yeah.
And another thing is also give freely of your information. So,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to not give the information. I mean, if it's like a proprietary, like, and here's the thing, if it's a proprietary recipe, or, something that no one else knows, then of course you don't want
Mhm.
to give that away for free. But
Yeah.
if it's just information that, for example, someone can go to Google and find, um,
Mhm.
you know, give it away, because
Yep.
all somebody's got to do is go to Google and type in the same information. And so by you being like too overprotective of it, you run the risk of, well, hey, they're just going to go to Google and go to whatever shows up in the first one to
Exactly.
two slots.
And really what you're doing is that you're giving away the what, not the how. And I know some people want to
Mhm.
ask, like, what do you mean by give it away? What's the boundary? It's like you're telling people about the what, not the how to. You're not going into details, into prolonged bullet points. Yes.
Definitely. And James makes a great point, by the way. It's not about you, it's about your community.
Yes, it is. Build that list. Yes.
Exactly. And you have to, here's the other thing you also have to do. You have to tell people about what you're doing. So, for
Mhm.
example, if you've got an email list, or if you don't have an email list, first thing I'd say is set up an email list,
That's
and
right.
then and then make sure you're telling people about your show, and
Yes.
don't assume that, for example, just because I posted on social media, everybody's going to see it.
Nope.
So, for example, if somebody's following your page on Facebook and they're not interacting with it, doesn't matter how many likes you have.
Hmm.
If you go live and they've not engaged with any of your content, then they're not going to necessarily see your content, because that is affected by Facebook's algorithm. Again, I
Hmm.
mean, don't be afraid, as you mentioned, Letitia, like, don't be afraid to put it out on Periscope, for example, if
Yeah.
that's where your audience, even if your audience isn't there, or you don't know if your audience is there, test it out.
Mhm. Yeah.
And be consistent. Make sure you are going live on a regular basis. Make sure you value your audience's time. So, you can make your stream like 3 hours long, but if no one's watching, then maybe I need to scale that back. I would do this. I would go live, test it out, ask your audience when you think the right time to go live is, and then
Yep.
work around as much of that as you can. You're not going to find the perfect time. And
Mm.
then don't be afraid to tweak what you're doing, because
That's right.
after every show, like when I finish this, I'm going to go back and say, okay, well, at one point I saw this massive like spike. Okay. Hey, this was a good topic. Hey, at this point I saw it start to tail off. So next show you tweak it.
Yep. Yep.
So, do you have any other questions?
That's it. Thank you so much for having me on. And thank you to all the viewers for having me. Thank you. Have a good day.
Anytime.
Happy New Year.
Bye. Happy New Year. So shout out to my friend Eileen Smith. Thanks for joining as well. Really good to see you. Let's see. So I think there's a couple of other people who want to join. Let's see. We got Bruce on. Let's see. So I've got a couple of people here. Let me see. And by the way, if you have questions, as I mentioned, just put #ask. Shoot me a message over on Facebook, and I will give you the backstage link so you can come on and ask your question. And by the way, don't be shy. Seriously. I mean, like everybody at some point had to start somewhere. If I went back and watched my first YouTube video, it's pretty like it wasn't very good. Like I rambled on for the longest time. I didn't have a microphone at all. I didn't have any good lighting, but everybody starts somewhere, and you start and then you improve and improve and improve to make it better. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So let me see. Let me bring on Walter here. So Walter has a question. He's got a couple of questions here, actually. Let me see. By the way, hopefully everybody had a really happy New Year. Feel free to tell me what your goal is for 2021 for live streaming. By the way, Neil, thanks a lot for joining as well. We'll try to do this. I'll try to do this. I'll see if I can do this every week. Let's see how it works. Let's see. And to Letitia's point, by the way, don't be shy. She says she looks like a hot mess and still went on. Exactly. I mean, she looked great, but like, don't be afraid to just come on. I mean, I want to help you guys. So, let's see. Okay. So hopefully who we got here? Okay. So hopefully Walter's going to join, and then, we've also got Ryan Spalding. Ryan's also going to join here and talk. Had a couple of questions as well. Okay, so who we got? Okay, so we got Walter. Walter, how you doing?
Praise the Lord. How are we doing, sir?
Good. How are you? Okay, so you got something covering up your. There we go. Yeah.
There we go. I'm just finishing up a live stream on StreamYard just about 30 minutes ago, and I clicked on YouTube and I saw you, and I was like, let me watch him. And I'm watching your show, and I'm like, I'm learning some stuff. And then I said, I've hosted these for about 3 months, but I've never really came on and been a guest. So I said, I want to see how the guest aspect is in joining it, and then also ask my 2 questions. So thank you for just giving me the opportunity. Happy New Year's to you.
Happy New Year's. By the way, a couple of quick tips here. So you got something blocking your mic still. Again, these are it's like a shading, to the right there, to your right.
To my right.
It's like, there you go. What is that? What is that?
What is that?
Is that a cover, or is that the webcam?
I think it's the webcam.
So do this. Take that off, actually. Take that off.
Okay.
There you go. There we go. Perfect. Look at that.
Yeah, so I think it's picking up the web. It's picking the webcam up for the Toshiba versus the Speedo, which is fine.
No worries. No worries at all.
So no, thank you. I appreciate it.
So what questions do you have?
So I wanted to ask you the question. I know one person asked a question about microphones, but I currently have the ATR 2100.
Okay.
So I find sometimes with the cord moving it around with the boom arm, what are some good recommendations for cordless microphones?
Okay. So I was going to recommend the Rode, actually. I was going to recommend the Rode Wireless Go here. Sorry, that was backwards. This is actually a good cordless option, because if you plug it in your laptop, so these are actually really cool. So basically the way these work, one is, so you can buy like Shure, I think it's Shure. They make Sennheiser makes a wireless mic pack.
Okay.
So basically it's a lavalier that plugs into a mic pack, and then you have the mic pack on the camera. So these are much smaller, obviously. And the way they work is one plugs into the computer and works as the receiver, and the other one can then be your lavalier mic, for example.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
By the way, party rental knowledge, just a heads up, I'll bring you on here in a second after we get through questions from Walter here. So that's one option I would use. I mean, again, this is about $200. And then if you go with the route of like the Sennheisers, I think they're like $400. So
Okay.
there's a sizable, it might be more than that. There's a sizable price increase there. So that's one thing I definitely consider checking out. I mean, so as far as the wired mic, what do you not like about the wired mic, by the way?
I just noticed when I'm using and doing live streams, I have to kind of get the arm. I have the newer arm. I'm using like a regular folding table. So
Okay.
I'm finding sometimes moving this arm, you could probably hear it in the live stream.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of be mindful of how I'm hitting the table.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at the option of going wireless. And then the other option is just getting a better desk that's more configurative for live stream. So that's the reason I was kind of exploring that as an option. And as a follow-up question, since the pandemic, I've noticed certain devices like webcams, microphones, when you go on Amazon or HB&H, they tend to be more in demand where it takes a while for you to get them in stock. Would you say the Rode is one of those wireless microphones where it's hard to get because there's so much in demand right now, or are they pretty much available?
I think actually most of these things are very hard to get. For example, I got these at Guitar Center because I tried going to like the Rode website, and I tried going through all their like even B&H Photo, by the way, that's a really good place for audio and video equipment. Adorama, I think, also was out of them. Sweetwater, another company as well. They all sell virtually the same thing. But that was definitely one of the things where they were hard to find. So I think it's across the board. There's probably some part in there that's really hard to get. You know, a couple of things also, by the way. So just to talk about your mic arm there, by the way, and just a couple of points here, by the way, too, as well.
Sure.
Some good questions from people. So NLTMW is saying, you know, wireless mics tend to pick up fidgeting noise from your clothes as you move around. They do, yes. So if you do put them on here, so like, for example, I'll use this as an example here, the Rode Wireless Go. So the way these work, as I mentioned, one of them clips on. So like I could clip it on like right here, for example, or wherever. But the thing is, you know, I want to make sure, by the way, here's another thing. If you do the L, that's actually usually the distance that you need to put it on yourself to pick up properly. But for example, this doesn't have anything plugged into it. So if I plug this in and I speak into it, it's wireless. But then if I want to make it even better, I would want to buy, they have a smart lav that plugs into it. And so that would actually be a better mic because then it would be closer to my mouth and not pick up as much noise. But they do actually, they do pick up, I mean, a lot of wireless ones will pick up, you know, some noise like that. So that's one good thing. The other thing also I wanted to mention, so I've experimented with quite a number of boom arms. I'm not name dropping products, but like
like I said, this is really my first boom arm that I got, and I was just doing YouTube videos, and then I graduated from Zoom to StreamYards, and so I did about maybe 20 StreamYards live streams. So I'm since you were on, I'm like, wow, this is great. I can really speak to someone face to face live stream and really get some quality information on how to upgrade my live streaming.
So by the way, party rental, please keep holding on. I'll bring you here in a second. So as far as the arms and stuff like that, so I'm using the Rode PSA 1. Now, one thing I hear on your end, I don't know if you have like a spring on that thing.
Yes.
Okay. So I had one of those arms at one point. I switched to the Rode one only because it doesn't have the spring. Like I noticed, like if somebody bumped into a desk, you would hear like the clang, like
cling.
And so that's partly why I switched to this. Like the only noise you might hear is, I don't know if you even hear that. Like there's
a little, but okay, that sounds a lot better versus like cling, like a clock going off.
Yep. And so you sort of do get what you pay for on that one. the newer products are good, but that is one, for example, noticeable difference I noticed with the arms. It also seems a lot more sturdy versus some of the ones like you'll get the one. And so, for example, like most of these clips are like plastic for the most part. These are actually metal, but like if you're trying to clip on something that is heavier than that stand can support, and you might think like, oh, a microphone, it's not that heavy. It's still fairly heavy because then it's on your desk, and then every little thing you do potentially bumps it. So definitely keep in mind that's actually one thing I'd recommend doing. And then the other thing you could also do though, and I have one of these. I have a tabletop stand. So someone earlier mentioned the gooseneck for their microphone.
Yes.
So they make these, and I wish I actually should have put this on my desk here, but basically it's a very, like, you ever remember like free weights, basically, like they go on a barbell.
Yes.
So they basically have a very solid metal plate, and then there's a piece that just it screws in, and then you can, for example, put that microphone holder that you have there directly into it, and it's right there on your desk. It's heavy, and it's not something that like is going to make any noise whatsoever unless you're like dragging it across your desk.
Okay.
So that might be something as well to do. If you want something like that. And I personally, I use both of them. So here's the reason why I use both of them, because if I do want, and this is a thing you have to think about when you're also going to be live streaming, if you're going to be doing any sort of traveling, I realize traveling is not happening a lot right now.
Right.
If you go to travel, I want something that's portable. So for example, I'm not going to be carrying my boom arm with me anywhere. It clips on my desk. It's not an easy thing to travel with. So if I want something that's portable, I throw the tabletop stand in there, and the tabletop stand is like the size of a small dinner plate. I put the thing in the box, I put it in my bag, and I now have a portable microphone.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
What other questions did you have?
Two quick questions, and I know you have some other guests. Number one, I know you had mentioned about in terms of how often you will be coming on. So are you looking more once a month, twice a week, once a week, or are you going to kind of gauge your response? And then the second question, which I had is a follow-up what I asked in the chat. You had mentioned Canva provides the ability to overlays. I use Canva a lot, so I would just kind of get an idea where in Canva where I can find that so I can start really working on my overlays.
Okay. So first question, as far as how often I'll do this, I'm happy to do this every week. I just want to make sure that it makes sense for everyone that's tuning in. So if you all want this every week, so here's the thing: if you're watching in the chat, just tell me if you want this to be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly.
Okay.
And I'll go either route, and I'll try to give you all much more heads up. I really wasn't sure if I was going to do this today.
What time did you come on today? I'm just curious because, like I said, I finished my live stream around about 11:50 Eastern Standard Time today.
I did 12 o'clock actually today.
Okay.
12 Eastern Standard Time. So, so that's that question. And then as far as Canva, okay. So, one thing to keep in mind, so Canva, easel, etc. So, they don't have, so one thing you do have to remember for overlays and backgrounds, I would almost recommend just doing a background instead of an overlay.
Okay.
And the reason is, so like right now I've got the StreamYard background, or the standard StreamYard background up.
Right.
Now,
I can see that. Right.
So the reason I would recommend the background over the overlay necessarily. So for example, the overlays, I'll bring this one up. I like this one, for example, live with StreamYard live show. Like I like that. I think that combined with the background can help enhance my live stream. But when you start to make very complicated overlays, again, it's like Letitia mentioned this earlier. It's about not complicating what you're doing.
Okay.
But she does mention also if you're streaming alone, you should use an overlay. That is a good point.
Correct. I mean, especially from a branding standpoint, because my YouTube channel is Walter Strong III, but every Saturday morning it's known as the Huddle with Walter Strong live stream. So if you have a chance to check the channel out, you'll see all my live streams are under the Huddle, which comes from a football reference of football player, but it's a matter of gathering people together to huddle and share great information to find your passion, unlock your potential, and discover your purpose in life.
So one thing I would recommend for something like that. So for starters on YouTube. So if you're streaming to YouTube, I would set up a playlist and put that on your channel. on the top. So Daniel and Dean mentioned this last week as
Yes,
well. They mentioned getting rid of the uploads, or sorry, don't say getting rid of. Don't show the uploads at the top. Show the one you craft the navigation that you want people to view. So if that's the one thing you want them to view, put that as a playlist at the top. You know, and basically it's a YouTube, it's a playlist shelf. And so, this ties into live streaming because as you're making your streams, you want to make sure that they're easy for people to find as well. So for example, if you want to just send them to, like, if they watch the first one, maybe they're short episodes, they might want to continue watching all the next ones that you have and so forth. So what I would say is this, as far as the, by the way, Letitia, you're totally welcome to come back on as well here if you have questions on, and you want to like work with me here with Walter. I'm happy to bring you on as well.
Okay, I didn't want. I know to get you had some guests. I mean, I'm free as long as
you're totally fine. If she wants to come on and like give us even some more insight, I'm totally up for that.
Perfect.
But I'd say as far as like, do I do them in Canva, Easel, and so forth? So I did drop a link to some of the free ones that Canva Easel put together. Those are ones I work with them on, and I would definitely check those out because they're very clean overlays and backgrounds and things like that. But I'd say use a mix, but you don't need to do, here's the thing, you don't need too many of them. Don't complicate it.
Right.
So you literally need an intro. Like, I'll walk you through what I use for my show social chatter. I have an intro, and that intro is the thumbnail that I use across the board. It has my show name. It has, I think I have my name on it. And then I have what I talk about, and I have the hashtag and the URL. That's it. And then throughout the show, I'm using my show template. I have various segments that I talk about. And then when I get to the segments, various topics, and then I get to the segment, that's when I might bring up a overlay, for example. So I have a segment, I have a three section show. So it goes intro. I then bring myself on screen. I bring my co-host in, I bring my guest, and then we talk about the screen share of the topic. We go through that. And then when I get to the next segment, I have a second overlay that I bring up so that people kind of know what Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 is. And then I bring up a third overlay for my show. And that's just saying, hey, we're switching gears real quick. And then when I get to the end, the only other thing I have is, for example, I have an outro video that I play. So I play my outro video. And when I hit that button, I let it play. And as I'm doing that, I click the thank you screen that I put up. And the thank you screen is on the end of a bookending every single live show. It's the same thing. It says, thanks for watching. It might even look something. This is one that we did, for example, that Julie and I did. I'll bring this up right now. This says, thanks for watching StreamYard. Like, this is something that you theoretically could use for your stream. So just make something like that. And the reason I do that is so that when I pull that up, that gives me time to hit the end broadcast button at that point. And it's a clean look, and I'm not like deer in headlights on camera. So just something to think about. So perfect. But that's all I use for overlays, and you don't have to complicate it. So, and just mix and match what you're going to do, and just, stick with your branding. But you can do all of those. The only things you can't do in Easel or Canva, you can't do cutouts. So that's something to keep in mind. For example, if you want to cut out a whole, that's why I said the background might be better, because you can't do a cutout for, like, for example, for our video feeds right now. So that's just something that's not built into either of those tools.
Right. Because I've seen some of StreamYard's. I think there was one that attracted my eye, was the Reporter. I think it's a premium overlay for $49.99. And I said, okay, I could see, instead of putting the Reporter, the huddle at the top. But I was like, okay, let me just kind of do some more homework. Let me continue to learn how to use StreamYard. But the Canva background option is definitely, like you said, maybe doing a combination of both is good. And maybe this is a question maybe you or Letitia could answer for us. In terms of, I've heard people sometimes they do live streams and then they'll cut their live streams into shorter portions of content. What's your feedback and thought process on that?
You should totally repurpose your live streams. By the way, Party Rental Knowledge, I have not forgotten about you. I'm going to bring you on.
I'm sorry. I mean,
you're totally fine. I just want to make sure they stick around. So I think that everyone, as you're doing a live stream, you should be repurposing them. Because here's the thing. A lot of people, they go through the motions of, they do their live stream, they finish it, and then now they're on to the next one. They don't give people time to consume that content.
Right.
And so they should try to repurpose it. And there's various ways you can repurpose a live stream. For example, you can go and you can, for example, you can use a tool like, I think it's called Try Lately. Let me see if I got the right name. That's called Try Lately. So for example, that one has a neat little feature where I can, here, this is, real quick for people. Like you could put in a tool called Try Lately. The way that one works is you put the content in there and it will spit out various pieces to let you like then have content for your social media platforms. That make sense?
Yes. Okay.
So that's one way. Another thing I also do, I turn them into, so like for my show, I do my show and then I write a blog post every single week for my show. So
Okay.
here's what I do. I have a YouTube video. I have a Facebook video. So I'm simulcasting, using the right terminology. I'm simulcasting to Facebook and YouTube. And then I'm publishing a blog post every single week. And the blog post is, for the most part, a written transcription of what I talked about. It might highlight some tweets or things like that we wanted to bring up. And then there's the YouTube video embedded there as well. So the YouTube live stream.
Okay.
So then that way, the benefit there is that I'm hitting YouTube. I'm also hitting Google search potentially with my live streams that then can hopefully help me reach more people. Because here's the other thing. If I'm running if I'm streaming to YouTube live through StreamYard, what I also will do is I will go in, and Daniel and Dean sort of mentioned this as well, but you need to optimize your live streams on YouTube Live. So if I'm going to be if I'm recording a native video and uploading it to YouTube, there's always going to be a title, a description, and tags that I'm putting in there.
Correct.
The same, and by the way, another little tip: the video name also needs to be optimized for the tag for the keyword you're trying to target.
Okay.
Now, obviously, with live streaming, you hit go live, you don't get the chance to do that.
You have to go back and kind of put in your tags.
Exactly. You should be doing that with every single live stream you do: your title, your description, and your tags, because the YouTube live video is treated just like a regular video on your channel.
Correct.
So, but a lot of people aren't doing that. They're not trying to optimize it. So that goes back to to Letitia's question, by the way. We talked about this earlier. By the way, Letitia, I'm going to go and bring you in. Letitia, good to have you.
Hey.
Back again.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. Hey, Walter, how are you? I'm doing great.
Great. I'm blessed. Doing good.
Yes.
So what we're talking. Hold on one second. I got to mute.
It's not me, is it?
Let's try that. I think I think Letitia had an extra window open, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, so you should be going and optimizing all of your YouTube live content for SEO as well, so that your lives can be showing up. Now, the other benefit to that, by the way, is also it helps you with that strategy. So if I'm publishing a live video, and we talked about this with Letitia about having a very direct purpose behind what your stream is about, every single live stream should be about something. Correct. And it should try to target specific keywords. So for example, it shouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to cover 10 topics. There's a main topic that you're trying to optimize for. So the same thing should apply for your live streams.
Okay, great.
Okay, what other questions do you have?
No, you've answered all my questions. Thank you for the opportunity to meet you and even meet Miss Campbell. This has been good. I mean, like I said, I'm just starting with doing StreamYards, and I'm learning. I watch Dee and Daniel Patel. I watch Nick Nimmin every Saturday morning. So, but by the time I do my live stream, like I'm catching people's replays, and I turn on YouTube and I see you guys. I'm like, okay, let me check this out. This seems all right. I need to pay attention and learn from this.
And so, so happy to answer your questions, Walter. So thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Anytime. And I'm going to do my best to make this a weekly thing.
Thank you. All right.
Can I touch on overlays real quick, Christian?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Is my sound good? I had to turn off my head.
Nope. Good.
Yeah. So with overlays, I've done many of them, and I find that sometimes it could be a distraction. Okay. So the thing about overlays, you want to keep it super simple, and you want to make sure it's on brand. You know, you want to make sure you keep in mind the colors, because you got to look at the eyes of the consumer. A lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we want to be like, well, I like orange and I like bright yellow and I like all these things. But then as people are flicking through their social media, the colors could sometimes, you know, take people away from your content. So you want to make sure that any overlay or background you have is inviting. I don't use overlays personally. And I keep my backgrounds just a simple stock photo of like me at an event with my clients, and we're like, yay, like, because when people see that, they get excited too. So that's one thing too, is keeping it like a simple stock photo on the background, or just having it as a solid black, or even how StreamYard already has a default background. They did that on purpose. They could have came out with any color or any design, but they be strategic about the design and making sure that it's on brand. Is so important, because a lot of times we have overlays, and even myself, I'll see somebody's overlay and I'm like, oh, I'm paying more attention to the overlay than their content. It's just like it just
becomes a distraction. Yes, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Great tips. All right. Thank you again. And so those links that you shared, Chris, they'll be in the description. I can go back and follow up on them.
They'll be in the chat. Yeah. If you have any questions, I mean, you could just message me on Facebook as well. And I'll happily send you whatever. Yeah. A couple other points, by the way, just real quick on, so some questions people had. So they were asking about, let's see. So we were talking about repurposing. So James says audiograms are a great way to repurpose. Yes. You can use a tool, such as descript.com. There's also, what's it called? Let's see. There's descript.com. There are a couple other audiogram features as well. But descript.com actually answers a second question. Someone was asking about transcription. So Paul also asked about, where do you get transcription? You can get transcription a couple different places. So when you stream, they will go out. So YouTube will generate a stream for you. Facebook will also generate a stream for you. However, the Descript tool that I was mentioning will actually help you with all of that. You upload the video to their site, and then it uses AI and basically will recognize speakers, and you can like right now, if I wanted to actually do transcription, I have to hit stop or it had to be really fast at typing. But the great thing is the way the tool works is it's really fast and really good at picking up the different words that people are saying. And instead of doing the editing where I like start, stop, and so forth, it picks up 90% of it correctly. And then if you just go back through it, you can quickly go through and edit the text and remove like chunks of the video and things like that. Where like, let's say there was a part where like, hey, there's a whole bunch of like ums and uhs. You could actually cut the video directly in the tool, and it'll give you a full transcript that you can put up to YouTube. So, yeah, check out the script for transcription. And then there's also some tools like there's like rev.com and things like that. But I don't really think you necessarily need those. Those are a little more pricey because they're like per, I think, minute.
Okay.
But this one's actually a really good tool. So
let me ask you here's another question popped in my head, if y'all guys don't mind. With StreamYard working with Stream Deck, is that something that's available? And if it is, Letitia, you talked about sometimes about having things they can be a distraction to a new person live streaming. What's your thoughts and your feelings about if Stream Deck is available, and should a newbie like myself be looking to do that, or should you really graduate over time to try to incorporate that?
Pivot over time. I can't stress that enough. It's like, utilize what you're doing right now. And then once you reach a point where you can say, listen, now I could pivot my audience over here. Do that then, because it will be a distraction. That's one of the things I'm telling my clients in 2021 is to use what you have, utilize what you have now. And then when you build up your community, like what Christian talked about, I go over lists all the time, then you pivot people over to where you want them to go. But if you have all 10, 20 different things going on and you don't have a team to help you, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to stop. I promise you by the middle of January, you're going to stop because you're like, this is too much. And so when we're talking about, transcripting and all those things are great, but do you have the team to keep up with all that? you know, to actually
I'm a one-man show.
because your number one show, Walter, is to go live, is to market. You're the CEO of your business. So you always want to be at the top. Anything else beyond that, you do need to hire a team. But if you can't do that right now, just continue to do what you're already doing right now until you come up with the income, till you say, okay, you could delegate stuff. Like, okay, before you go live, you have VAs, you have tech team to say, listen, I want you guys to do this. And basically you're hitting that automation button. But for right now, do it at a minimal level, build your community, grow your list. And then once you reach the income point that you want to reach, then you can pivot people over to where you want to go. And now it's more easier. You're more relaxed. You're more calm. You're not like, I got 20 different things to do every morning. And then the anxiety, you know how our brain works, you know, it's like,
I'm going through that even with the chats. I think today was the first time I had about 20 to 25 people. I mean, they were active in the chat, and I'm trying to be respectful to highlight. And I'm like, okay, my guest looking at me like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just trying to hit show and hide.
Because you want it to be engaging. Yeah. Some people go live and they just talk. They don't even care about the comments, but you do. And you want to make sure that everybody's getting their time. So continue with that to manage that part. And then everything else will flow.
Perfect.
Definitely. And there's and I want to also echo the same thing. I have a Stream Deck, and I've had it, and I started using it, and it's another thing to have to figure out. And the more you're adding to your show, the more you're complicating it. You're going to, I'll say this, you're going to see people that are like saying, hey, you should get this equipment. This is what I use. And here's the thing that they're not telling you though. A lot of times, by the way, a lot of these are things that are like they're not things that you need necessarily to make your show work. It's the content you're sharing, and it's great that you're adding them, but also a lot of these people, they have teams that are doing things. So they've got somebody that's behind the scenes. They've got a producer, for example, that's doing everything for them. So all they're doing is hitting a button, and it looks super sharp and whatnot. But one person cannot, you can do, like, everybody operates a little differently. So some people, they're capable of like multitasking and doing all this stuff at the same time. But there are some people that they just want to be on camera talking to you. And there's, here's the thing. If I'm doing this, I'm looking down at this, I don't have a Stream Deck on my desk, but if I am, you as the viewer, you're not seeing me look into the camera. I'm like over here distracted by doing stuff.
Right. And someone made a comment this morning when they saw me was popping up certain comments, and then they asked me, so are you okay? And I was like, they said, you seem a little fuddled. And I was like, oh, I was trying to do this and this. And then I was like, okay, I gotta, okay, it's good to have more viewers. We all want to, when you're, like you're saying, Letitia, when it's just zero and nobody on, it trains you to learn how to speak to an audience of 1,000. And it teaches you not to get afraid. I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last 3 months in doing live streams. But then now today to have the challenge of 25 people on, and they're all commenting, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to be disrespectful. I want to try to highlight as many people as I can. I'm clicking on the banner to make sure my guests can see where people can follow up with them. And I'm like, okay, this is a little challenging.
Definitely. And, just a couple of comments here. So I see like Beauty Bubble, like these are just regular links that I'm sharing to you all, like that are just directly to their websites. That's another thing, by the way, too. If you are sharing like affiliate links and things like that during your streams, you do need to have a disclaimer in there, telling your viewers that you're doing that. It's not like, hey, go click the links in the description. You're going to see the same shtick from everyone who's doing YouTube videos. Just make sure you disclose that, if you are doing that.
Oh yeah, no, these were just their Facebook pages in terms of where individuals can kind of contact them. But no, I agree. That's something I've learned from watching Nick Nimmin, watching Sean Cano, D, and Daniel Patel about affiliate marketing and giving disclosure. But like you said, it's different when you first get your taste of 25 people, and you're like, I can identify exactly what you're saying, Ms. Campbell. I'm like, okay, make sure I click this. Make sure I click enough people, and make sure it's more engaging. But then for the last 3 months, I'm getting like 1 or 2 people. I was doing, like you said, live streaming, multi-streaming, the Periscope and Facebook, and I'm getting more people on Facebook, and I'm trying to drive people more to YouTube, and I'm getting more responses to Facebook. I'm like, okay, I'm just cutting Facebook off. I tried Periscope, I cut that off. So I got to learn how to grow on YouTube. You know,
And
so
here's the thing: a lot of people, this is some of my social media background here. I mean, they spread themselves too thin. A lot of people, you hear. Let me unmute you, Letitia, by the way, unless you're.
oh, okay.
So a lot of people, when everybody says, "Well, hey, you need to be on all these platforms," you can only handle so much, and so
Yes,
you have to, be mindful about what's going to work best for you. It's I like to give people the example of like the conveyor belt. So when I step on that conveyor belt, I can't get off the conveyor belt. So
That's
like
right.
if I want my business to grow, and if I want my business and I want my live stream to grow, and I start that live stream, I have to commit to it, and I have to do it, and I have to stick with it. Like for example, today. So basically, I have committed to doing a weekly show here on live streaming reviews. So that means I have to do this every week, and I'll do it and I'll see how it works. And as long as people are tuning in and asking questions, because the other thing is, I want you all to come on screen and ask me.
Okay. Which I thought was very unique, and you kept on stressing it. I'm like, oh, okay. So let me see if I can find this guy on Facebook and try this.
No. So I want you all to come on and ask the questions. I want you to A, get more comfortable, but B, I also want to answer your questions. And there's no silly question because as I mentioned earlier, everybody starts somewhere. And,
that's right.
Everybody, like you do something and you learn, like we learn from mistakes, like, hey, if my audio didn't sound good, like I'll give you the example of this. We did the Learn with StreamYard episode. And I was thinking, hey, I was like, everything sounded really good. And it turns out I needed to add this. And my audio sounds so much better, and I feel more confident on camera, and I don't have to worry about the equipment being the issue because the equipment's not the issue now. So let me see what else we got here. So you have any other questions, Walter?
I'm good. This has been good. I'm looking. I'm going to continue to watch the show. Let other people come on, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a suggestion though. I know you mentioned that you want to build up on your YouTube channel. I'm at that point too in my business where I really want to just start to take people off of Facebook, off of Instagram, bring them over to YouTube and stuff. So what you could do is I use Cut Story. So when I do a video, Cut Story will cut it up. And like Christian mentioned, you want to take the most meatiest part of that conversation, and I will put it on Instagram. I will add it on to Facebook to let everybody know if you want to tune into the rest of this episode, go over here and you can watch the full episode. I learned that just from seeing what, like a Hollywood movie, like before a movie comes out, they do a commercial. They do that. So that's how you have to think. And then everybody knows, where do you go to buy a ticket? Well, now obviously nobody's going to the movies, but people are, going to Netflix and, Amazon Movie to watch the full episode. So think in terms of that, because take the most spiciest part, where you're about to say a point and then you stop and you're like, I want to see the rest of that point.
Okay.
They need to go to the channel to see the whole conversation or the whole episode. So yeah.
And compared to a movie trailer, like, so when you go to a movie, so you watch a movie trailer, the movie trailer is going to give you a couple of minutes of the movie. And, the movie trailer is there to entice the viewer to want to watch the whole thing. And some movie trailers, they unfortunately give away the entire movie or they show only the good parts. And then there's other parts where you'll watch the movie trailer and it will be like, it'll look like it's really good. And then you watch the movie and you're like, wow, this actually is really good because the trailer only showed a tiny fraction of it. So
that's right.
Consider making a movie trailer, and you can use some of the tools we mentioned earlier. You can use your Canvas, for example, for making for videos. You've got Wave.video as well. In video, let me think of everything else. I mean, there's tons.
Yeah, I use iMovie to basically do a lot of my editing for my YouTube videos.
Yep.
So I know they have a feature in there for trailers. So that's probably one of my goals on the list to learn. But like you said, even Canva has the ability. But I like the shorts that Miss Campbell was saying as well. So
and start small. Don't think. Here's another thing. So kind of going back to James's point earlier as well, like about having all this additional gear. And to Letitia's point, you can add more gear. You can always add more tools. But it also complicates things. So, you don't like, if you're going to, for example, buy microphones and equipment, like, I will don't just jump into buying it. Do a little bit of research. You can buy it over the weekend. Do a little bit of research. Figure out, okay, what do I need for my needs, and get it.
Yep.
But
The
don't
shiny object
worry.
effect is real.
Yeah, and don't worry about other people have. I mean, okay, so if somebody's got this really expensive microphone and someone's got this $100 microphone, the $100 microphone sounds to the trained ear. It sounds great. It sounds just fine. So you don't need to necessarily get the expensive item, because the expensive item it'll be good, but you then also have to make money off of what you're doing. So
correct.
Just make sure you make the smart investment. I mean, for example, for $400, you could buy a webcam, the $70 to $100 microphone, and a year of StreamYard, for example, and you've got everything right there that you need. And then you can incorporate other things as you get to the point where you're ready to actually take that to yourself.
You could do it the boss way. Like, everybody is selling something. So if you're interested in a mic or a camera, reach out to the company that you want to purchase from. Say, hey, I have a follower of 1,000. I have 1,000 followers on YouTube. I would love to, you sponsor my show. And sometimes they give you free equipment just for you to use their name. You could do that as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And just a question. We had a question from Kevin here, was asking about Otter, about their access. Yeah. Just you can choose to skip that, but I mean, it's a trustworthy tool. I've used it for quite a while. So definitely something worth checking out. It's another very good tool. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
As a recommendation, maybe in your next live stream, I mean, being able to just kind of focus on different things, like you said, the boom arm, the microphone. Because see, in my mind, I'm thinking I need a cordless microphone. But as you picked out on the newer with the spring in this thing, I can pretty much keep this microphone, work with what I have, and grow, but get a better arm, and that'll take away from distraction and noise. And as you were saying, Miss Campbell, work with what I have, and don't necessarily go buy that $150 Stream Deck. Use that $150 and save that towards something else, and develop and get more comfortable managing live stream. And I think that's sometimes I miss that in listening to our known bigger YouTubers, that because maybe those questions don't come up, because most of the time everyone's keep focusing on how do I get subscribers, how do I get subscribers, how do I get views, but no one really kind of takes the time like you guys are doing to answer these important questions.
Yeah. And don't let the shiny object effect overwhelm you. This month it will overwhelm you, because everybody's going to give you the suggestions, and you may go on Amazon and look up a brand new mic, and then all of a sudden you get an ads on Facebook. It's the continuation of that shiny object effect. And the analytics these days, all the millions of dollars people are spending on ads, it will be in your face 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then in the month, you're like, I just spent $1,000 on equipment, and I haven't made it. I haven't made triple that.
Yep. And here's the thing: just be, I'd say, work with what you have. And the other bonus tip, by the way, and James just made a really good point here. He says he loves your aha moment that you just had. 100%. I agree with that as well. But just keep in mind, here's, I guess, my piece of advice for this is you can also use equipment as a building block for yourself. So, for example, instead of getting the extra equipment that just complicates your show, let's work on building the community, for example, and say, hey, you know what, if I get to 50 concurrent viewers, by the way, don't worry about if you only get 50 people or 5 people tuning in, for your first, couple of months or whatever, like you're going to have, it's something you got to work at. And it's also something that it gives you a measuring stick. So like, for example, if I am, if my goal is, and also, by the way, you're also going to get, if you optimize your videos properly, you can get people to tune in to your replay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
75% of your audience watches your replay. That's another reason why I say the consistent, because people will go back and watch. I know some people that don't like to watch lives, but they'll go back and watch my replays, and they'll hit like, that's why when I do live broadcasts, like the first 30 seconds, I say, hey, if you're watching this on a replay, guys, type in #replay. So that also boosts up, your analytics with that too, because people do go back and watch the replays. Netflix taught us that people will binge watch. If you show up consistently, people will binge watch your stuff.
Okay.
There's nothing else to do.
So my other point I was going to tell you real quick, Walter, to use it as a measuring stick. So for example, you build your run of show, so you know what your show is going to look like, and you continually work at it. And then once you're, get to a point, maybe you set a goal for yourself. Hey, I want to try to get, if you have 5 people tuning in, let's try to get to 25, for example. Yeah. And you get 25 concurrent viewers. And here's the thing, you could add a piece of equipment or an overlay or something. And what that does is it also then shows your progress to all the people viewing. So for example, I start with the intro overlay and I have the thank you one. Great. And then I start to structure the show. Okay. Hey, what do I actually do? Are there segments? Maybe I should have an overlay for that. So you're building it. And then you say, okay, if I'm going to set a goal. If I get to 25 viewers at a time, how do I do that? I market my live stream. I tell people about it and I make sure that the content is really good content and I engage. Then maybe I incorporate a piece of equipment. I don't buy everything all at once. I don't buy the new mic. I don't buy the camera and the light and the stream deck and the mixer and make it more complicated because now I got to learn how to use all this. I improve one piece. So what's the weakest link I have right now? Oh, hey, if the mic is good, maybe I need more lighting, for example. Correct. So then I get a light. And then I talk about that maybe on my show, like, hey, thanks a lot for tuning in. And then I can actually go through some of my progression, like, hey guys, had a really big week with my stream. Thanks a lot for supporting me, blah, blah, blah. And then, hey, you might notice my live stream looks a little different. I put up a background or I got a light, and so you're able to show people what you're actually doing. So that they then also may want to, you also don't get overwhelmed, I think.
Sure. That's true. And whatever you do purchase does not distract your audience. So if you have a background that makes people focus just on your background, it takes them away from your content. The biggest investment that you can make in your business is what's up here. More knowledge you put in, more valuable content that you share. That's what people come for. Everything else is secondary. And if you make everything else secondary, but you make the secondary stuff distracting, then that's the only thing people are going to focus on. I want people to see me. Not all the things that surround me. So the microphone, I love to have the microphone on there. That's number one for me. Everything else is like, all right, doesn't matter. It's about what I can share. It's about what I put in here. That's the biggest investment,
Definitely. Great. Okay. Awesome. So thanks a lot for joining me, Walter.
All right. Thank you both.
We'll see you next week.
All right. Next week.
Very cool. Okay. So I'm going to now bring on party rental knowledge. By the way, Walter and Letitia, I'll shoot you guys a private message as well here shortly. So thanks a lot. Okay, so let's bring on party rental knowledge. His name is Justin, by the way. Justin. And so we're bringing Justin on, and let's see what Justin has for questions. Justin, great having you join us.
Hey, how's it going? So I'm Justin. You guys can hear me. Everything's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I basically started a little context. I started my YouTube channel like 4 months ago. I do bounce houses, tents, tables, chairs, all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I own dunk tanks. I just started my own business this year, but I grew up in the party rental industry, the entertainment industry my whole entire life. I grew up in the carnival, worked for multi-million-dollar corporations doing this stuff. Was a supervisor, traveled the entire country. So I have a buddy. I was following him when I started my business, and he does this for tents. He does all kinds of stuff on there. So I started my YouTube channel doing the same thing. And then, but with bounce houses and stuff too, as well. I do everything party rental related. So then he doesn't really care about YouTube as much, but he's got like 3,000 subscribers and he's been doing it for a year. I was just like, he's cool. He's my friend. He lives 3 hours away from me. So I started doing more, and I'm like hyping him up now and make him do more on his channel. So we started doing a live stream every Tuesday on his channel, as well as I'm starting one on my channel now and then. So I'm getting viewers from him. I got 209 subscribers already. It's been like 3 months. It's growing. But I have a Facebook group with almost 700 members in it now. And that's increasing exponentially. So I'm thinking about having just a Facebook Live group so I can get more people, and have him too, just on Tuesday, just a Facebook Live one to get more people into that group and kind of expand that some more. And then more of those will easily trickle into my YouTube channel because I control the Facebook group. I throw up as many videos as I want up there. I only post my video once and then comment on it. to let it go around. But I also comment in all the other Facebook groups that teach the same type of stuff, or people talk about the same type of stuff. And that's grown my channel as fast as it's been. That's why I got like 209 subscribers in 3 months or whatever. And it's growing more now because it took me like 2.5 months to get to 100 subscribers, and now I got like 100 subscribers in like a little bit. And then I already got like affiliate links and stuff like that. People are hitting me up and I don't want to be biased on my channel. So like because there's a lot of people that like they have used this software, so they'll just say, "Oh, use this," and then there's other people that say use that. So I'm basically just like, listen, they both exist, so check them both out and choose what you want. Here's the links in the description. I get affiliates and stuff like that. It helps improve the channel. But I'm not going to tell you which one's better. I tell you which one I use, but I'm not going to, because I'm not lying either. You know what I mean? But I just try to keep it real. But the live streams have been going really, really well. And they're increasing and getting crazy. I want to be able to like, not only, I want to do more things with the, maybe the Google questions. Like, I don't know if you've seen that, like how Nick Nimmin does it with those questions, and have those maybe, so I can have, because I want to be able to get, if I can get questions right out the bat, it's going to be better than, because most of the time we kind of like pick a topic and then we start talking about that topic, and then everybody asks the same questions every time in a live stream for the most part. Yeah. Those new people in that are just asking the same type of questions. And I'm cool with that because that's what it's for, you know what I mean? But I also want to try and be able to get more focus on maybe, so the video has more value long term too. So I'm new, but I watch D Nimmin and Nick Nimmin. I'm in his Facebook group too. So I paid $5 a month.
So you have any specific questions that we can answer?
Yeah, no, I had a bunch of them in there. I'm sorry. Okay. Basically, sorry about that. I'm trying to get more people into one place, but also grow. Like, I'm trying to add more retention on the channel for one in my lives, because I'm learning not to talk over people and stuff like that and let them go. But there's a time when you got to butt in and kind of take control of the live, and finding that is really, really hard to do. I'm also trying to figure out more way, like for branding wise, like colors and stuff like that. What's the, like not to use on here or something, and where to use. Because I was telling my friend I like this background because it actually pulls the face. Because I'm looking at the camera now, and now I'm looking at the screen. You can't really tell because it's a little bit farther away. And I think that might improve attention because I'm not staring at my camera that's right up here. So
where can I find your questions you had? I think you had some, right?
I think I sent you a couple.
Let me look.
Well, you mentioned colors. Like I said earlier to Walter, colors represent emotion. So you got to ask yourself what type of emotion you want your audience to have. Like my word is domination. I've been saying that word for 10 years. So my hashtag is let's dominate, so whenever I'm doing events, I say type in 1, 2, 3, let's dominate. And you feel the energy in the room. So it's like my domination colors is purple, navy blue, and gold. So those are my 3 colors. So every graphic, every brand, everything that my design team does is natured around those colors. So so when people see those colors, they is the representation of you and your brand and the overall feeling you want your audience to have. So think of that first as like, what is that word you want people to shout out? If you was in a room of 3,500 people, what is that word? What is that emotion? What is that feeling? So you want to think about that too, because again, you don't want to just come out and just say, okay, this is what I want. Then later on this year, you have a different color scheme. And with all this that you're saying, it takes practice too. When you was mentioning how you're going to get like when you mentioned how you don't want to overtalk people, you want to just make sure everybody, has their moment. That's going to come with practice. You just got to keep practicing. And you say you're building a Facebook group, right?
Yeah, there's a couple groups. Like the biggest one has 8,000 people in it. And then the second biggest has like 4,000 in it. And then mine's already got like 700 and something, or almost 700. And it's only been less than a month.
Okay, great. So you want to keep that momentum going, because you know how Facebook groups work. You build a lot of traffic in there, and then the engagement goes down. And sometimes adding more people to it can actually hurt the group if they're not targeted to your particular brand. So you want to make sure you get whenever somebody joins your group, you want to make sure you get their email. Okay.
I have a website that I'm actually it's going to be up and running in the next week or two. I actually partnered up with somebody
now, though, because you know how the SEOs work. If you don't have traffic going to your website, it's going to just, it's going to go right to those like page 200.
I started the website like literally just started going like literally a week ago. I just started to actually partner up with this dude because we're going to do all kinds of different stuff with that, maybe like some online courses and stuff like that. He is a bounce house company as well. So it's getting to the point where it's crazy. And I got a bunch of affiliates too. So I want to put the links to the affiliate descriptions in there as well. But that's why I want to get people into the Facebook group so that I can easily get them into my email list on my website. I want to grow the channel more. And what I want to do I like StreamYard. If you guys don't know, I literally use this to actually just talk with you and then record it. And then I just put that up on YouTube. I was thinking about doing my live streams only on Facebook so that I could take that recording and then strip that part for YouTube only and then not have to put all kinds of crazy stuff on YouTube. Maybe have my retention go up. But as far as I like live stream a lot. It's what's weird too is I need to get this on a LAN cable. I feel because I feel like it lags and does weird stuff sometimes because I don't have it plugged into the internet directly. I'm on my laptop. That's one word of advice I could probably give people too. I think it says something like that too, doesn't it?
Yeah, you should always try to plug into Ethernet. Part of the reason is this because when you're streaming, you need a consistent, frequency basically of the internet. Yes. So if you're on Wi-Fi, for example, you've got, for example, if you're inside of a house, chances are everybody's in a house doing this. The construction of the building, for example, can change the signal. You know, if it's bouncing off of things, if it's hitting maybe there's a concrete beam in your house or there's, some metal somewhere or even the stuff you have around you, that all actually can impact your signal. And so you want to make sure that you try and plug into Ethernet. Now, for those of you who happen to have laptops, for example, I've got a Mac that's got a USB-C port and there's no Ethernet cable. I do have to buy a dongle or an adapter. So that's something worth, it's a small investment, but you do have to make it's a trade-off. If you want to have a thinner, lighter laptop with more battery, things like that, more efficiency, PC, Mac doesn't matter. You're going to potentially need to buy an adapter for things. So definitely make that investment. I will say this also, I think I alluded to this earlier, but if you happen to have limited ports on your computer and you're using one of those hubs, basically, so there's two types of hubs. If you're, for example, on a Mac, there's a USB-C hub. I would show you guys this, but it basically it's one cable here. Actually, let me see if I can pull this up. So there's two different kinds. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I want you to see that there's a difference between these things. And it's kind of important to kind of keep in mind. Okay, so there's this one, and then let me pull the other one real quick up. Okay, so there's quite a few of these, and you buy a hub, and the hub is going to be like $20, for example. Here, let's do this.
So Christian, you suggest that we do go to the guitar, because I was thinking about driving up to the guitar store and just speaking to somebody, because my mic does pick up on everything, the AC, the kids, and all that stuff. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
What kind of mic are you using?
I'm using this one. It is called DSC HLZY.
I'm just using a what you call a Blue Yeti.
Yeah.
So I don't know what mic that is actually, Letitia. So, but yeah, so part of it is the pattern. There might be a microphone pattern on it. There's cardioid and dynamic. So just kind of pay attention to that. But the thing so the reason I say, hey, go check them out is only because if I go there, I can see the microphones up close.
Yes.
They can plug them in and help. They can help test. And at the same time, if I have questions about something, if you know how to, if you know everything about microphones, great. But if you're new to microphones, they can tell you all about them. And, you know, if you don't understand microphones, for example, don't be afraid to admit that. It's like, hey, I need to get, you know, a microphone. This is what I use it for. They're going to ask you what you use it for. If I'm using vocals, and I mean vocals as in like singing, for example, then I need a certain kind of mic, for example, you know. So you know, if I'm going to be using it to play musical instruments, same exact way. If I put a musical instrument up to certain mics, and that's not going to be a topic. We're not talking about music, playing music during live streams or playing musical instruments. That's something I do want to talk about on a future episode. But again, if you're going to be doing something like that, you need the right type of mic.
That's right.
So I would recommend, you know, if you have the time, and the first question is, are you in need of a new microphone? And the answer is like, you know what? Yes, I actually do need a new microphone. I'd make the in-person visit and work with them on making sure you get the right one. So back to the hubs. So, okay. So this is what I was saying. Like if you're somebody that needs to, for example, plug in a hub into your computer, I would recommend, you know, these are pretty good. They have multiple ports on them. They have like Ethernet. They have HDMI. Some of them have pass-through power. Some of them do not. So you have to be mindful of that. But the way these things do work, they can run hot. And so this little plug, if you start plugging like a monitor in and a mixer and, you know, a webcam and things like that, they can actually overheat. So, and I mean overheat in the sense that it will actually shut your, it'll shut your like webcam down, for example, because hey, it's just too hot. So that's the first one. But what I would actually look at instead of that is I would actually look at this. I would look at, this is actually a Thunderbolt dock, and this one has pass-through power on it. So this is actually, you know, it's going to be a little bit bigger. As you can see, it's not portable, but the way that it works here, let me see if I can show you.
What is that called? I'm gonna write it down.
It's a Thunderbolt dock. It depends on the type of computer you have, but the great thing about these is they plug in with actual power. So I plug it into an outlet, and then it has one cable that connects to my computer, and everything else just plugs into the dock.
Got it.
That works. It's got enough power to be able to support it. Is what I'm getting across.
So you're talking about stream decks too. That's actually something I was looking about getting into because they're fun.
Yeah, they can be fun. Yes.
I'm trying to, but I don't want to do it off my laptop. I think I want to do it off when I'm going to switch all this to a PC. And do my whole setup off there. But what does one? How do you set up a stream deck, and like where does one put it all? And you got to get your own plugins for it, or all little audios and stuff.
So they have some stuff built in. So the stream decks have they have some functionality built in, and then right now they don't work with StreamYard yet. We're working on the integration for that. But the way they work is you plug it into, for example, the computer, and then the software that they have has functionality that you can add to the stream deck. So you can make it do more things beyond just live streaming. You could set it up for, like, let's say you work in Adobe Photoshop for certain things. When you're in Adobe Photoshop, you can have different different options based on the application you're using. You can even have it where, let's say you want to open up 5 websites at once, you can push a button and it will do all that for you, as opposed to got to go to the web, I got to type in the address, I got to then make sure I get it right and so forth. I just push the button and it does it for me. So, but again, to Letitia's point earlier, we talked about this. It's just making sure that you are using something that is not hindering your live stream. So, you know, in your case, like if you've got a lot of things going on right now, I would focus on the things that are going to help move the needle the most. Adding another piece of equipment, if you don't necessarily need it, it sort of holds you back in a way, because now you have to stop and go figure out how to actually make it work.
I'm trying to have more ways to make my stream more entertaining and keep the watch time, because like I feel like the content is there, because that's why everybody's there in the first place, pretty much for the content. We get like 30 or 40 viewers out of like, and it's been growing like even more and more.
So stay there. That's it. You know, you already got it.
Yeah.
You know, pat yourself on the back for that. You there.
It's the replay retention I want to try and get maybe more about too. But like I just feel like it's not as, I can do better. I can make it look better.
That's where your list comes in. If you, like I said, when you are inviting people to your Facebook group, you should catch your emails, put it on the like I use Constant Contact for my email automation, my email marketing. So in that way, like when I do a live obviously I invite people there, but it's like, hey guys, check out this episode I did last year on talking about how to discover your greatness or something like that. That's how you start to retarget people back to the conversation, is through that list building, through that like Christian said, through building that community,
Yeah, I honestly too, for everybody that's watching, I feel like as soon as I realized I can do all the stuff with like the ticker and all that stuff on here, I think I was watching the town hall or something, and then I saw that, so I was like, what? We've been messing with my buddy's the one that showed me with this, and he's been using it for a long time, and then I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, oh wow! So I made like my past couple videos, I know they're going to be better, but it was like it's the middle of Christmas, so I couldn't judge the retention off that really. So I'm waiting for this week coming up so I can actually start figuring stuff out again. But I definitely like StreamYard a lot. I definitely want to try and get more backgrounds and stuff on here too. And like what do you recommend for backgrounds and stuff like that? Like just casual or
simple?
Yeah, I try to keep things simple.
I was the one spending hundreds of dollars on green screens. I mean, I got so much stuff in my storage unit that it's ridiculous. That I'm like, why did I buy that? Like it's like I told Walter, it's about the content. It's about your transparency. And it also depends on your audience. I'm a mother of 5 who teach other women who are entrepreneurs, and them seeing my kids in the background, them hearing, whatever, it's more transparent. It's like, oh, she's just like me, so she can do what I can. So it also depends on your audience. If you have an audience that likes all that stuff, then go for it. If not, then keep it simple.
Another amazing thing about StreamYard that's like really wild is I can download the audio separately, and I'm trying to put that on on a podcast. And then I haven't even gone down that route. I'm going to, once I switch this, I'm trying to switch this to a PC very soon, but I'm just going to start downloading those audio files, you know what I mean, and have them for later.
They had it longer than 15 days. I'd be like,
that's 15 days they delete it. So I'll download it and store it for later and get it right off. I just do it immediately. I don't even got to worry about it. It's not even a big problem. Just listen, StreamYard does so much. Go pay for your own storage. Like, that's my opinion.
I know,
right? They do a lot. I think it was like 30 days. It's only 15.
It's only 15. I forget sometimes. Make sure I get the highest.
I really like using this, and then people like a lot of people like Zoom and stuff, and it's like I like StreamYard with this. I like of being able to LinkedIn is another thing. I'm trying to get more people on LinkedIn. I just was wondering, how do you feel about when should you do an all-encompassing live on all platforms that you have, and then when should you be focusing on one and then not the other? When you know what I mean? And what should you do in those different situations? Should you be changing it up, or what do you recommend?
I mean, I would say you need to test. So you're going to want to you're not going to do a one-off test. So I wouldn't do a test and then be like, well, hey, these are the results I got, and then I'm not going to do it again. I need to test it on the one channel, add some additional channels, see how, run it for like a month. The other thing you have to look at is it depends on where your audience is at. So like, for example, and if you have for example, if you don't have an audience on YouTube or LinkedIn, don't just run the test and be like, well, hey, no one tuned in. No one's going to tune in because they don't know about it.
My LinkedIn is non-existent. Like that's one thing.
So build up the audience. And then I'd also say, I mean, don't forget to poll your audience. So like I dropped a link to a video, by the way. We had a video we published. It was about using Google Forms for your live stream. And that's something that you could easily do, not just for your live stream, but you could take it and put it on your Facebook page, put it in your email list, send it out to your subscribers wherever they are at. So if they're primarily on your email list, send out an email list. Hey guys, I'd like to get your feedback and help them, one, make them feel valued, but also help them from the perspective of see if they can give you the information to help you. It's like me asking you, hey, when should I do this live stream review? Should I do it every week? Should I do it twice a week? Should I do it monthly? Let me know. So again, I use your feedback to help me. It's the same thing of, hey, if I were to move this to LinkedIn Live or do this on LinkedIn Live, would you tune in? So anything else you want to add on that, Letitia?
Ask your audience and give them what they want. You're so right, Christian. You gotta show it wherever your audience is at. Where are they hanging out mostly? That's number one. And then once you dominate that platform, then you pivot over to where you want them to go. So your audience may not be on LinkedIn. See,
they're not. It's weird. It's weird because my whole they're all on Facebook, but they're all getting off Facebook and going onto YouTube. So that's why I'm on YouTube. That's because the party rental industry is weird. We just got sales funnels on our websites, and we just got software programs to be able to do our rentals within the past 4 or 5 years. I'm one of the only people talking about bounce houses. I'm one of 3 people, and everybody tells me I'm the only one with actual content. Everybody else just has weird stuff and then shows everything. I'm actually telling you how to roll these, how to fold them, how to repair them, how to clean them. Yeah, I tell people, like, am I saying too much information? I don't think so. There's not enough. I just go really, really in detailed, give out everything. And then I have other experts come in with all the information. But they're all old people, and they're getting all only on Facebook. And Facebook can get closed down next week for all we know. For everything that's going on. Exactly. So literally, I'm trying to diversify my audience, but I want to what I'm trying to do is build the audience, because the audience is there. Everybody knows who I am. I'm just trying to get them as subscribers, because a lot of people know who I am in these groups from the Facebook, but getting them to YouTube and then also trying to encompass everything. So I was thinking like different live streams, one for broadcasting everywhere. So if they happen to catch it on LinkedIn, it's cool, but it's everywhere. But then I don't know
if you're going to do it on LinkedIn, it has to be more about business, because entrepreneurs are all hanging out on LinkedIn. Yeah. So are you doing events where, like, if you're going to go on LinkedIn, I would do something like, hey, do you want to invite kids to your events? Like for me, I do events, but I was thinking of doing a kids event, teaching children how to build businesses. Like, so if I'm on LinkedIn and I say, hey, would you like to make your children's event fun? Then, check out my business. You know what I'm saying? You got to make it more a business. Like the same thing Christian mentioned about languaging. Every platform is like a different country. So you got to, tap into, well, who's on LinkedIn? Entrepreneurs are all on LinkedIn. I mean, have you tried Instagram? Because I know a lot of times when people are thinking about doing a party or doing something, they'll put in a keyword on Instagram and all these suggestions will pop up. Like, are you over there at all?
It's not more of me trying to show my party, like show the party stuff. I'm actually teaching people. It is a business thing. Like I'm trying to. I'm having an online course where I'm teaching people all these business. I'm not just showing my party rental business. That's part of the filming. That's part but that's going to be a separate thing when people actually start looking. If my channel grows and it's cool, maybe I'll start trying to do that to gain subscribers and leverage it further. But that's not the meat and potatoes. If you want to learn how to make some money,
that's right.
And then but being more efficient about it and all that. That's what. So then I try to. That's why Facebook and LinkedIn it's slowly working and it does fit together. And then YouTube is just it's like I could throw whatever at it. It's just all footage, and I'm learning, and then doing this and being on it. I encourage everybody to start videotaping themselves, and it's weird. Like I never was the person of like, oh, let's get social and start posting things and like, oh, now I'm filming myself. I got cameras. I got a little light thing like here I got lighting on my face, and it's just really wild, and it's gotten out of control very fast, but I'm actually enjoying it very much. So then when I realized that me enjoying this, when I could start doing, I could do this for my personal business and start doing all the footage and all the other stuff too, it was actually it's just a win-win, even if this all just goes and fails.
Exactly.
So that's it. Personally, video and doing this stuff, and I feel like it makes, like, I always felt small in my own little town and stuff like this, and I just as a person, and when you get on the internet and like visually, it's starting like, oh wow, I'm global now. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, so I like
That's
it.
right. And it happens faster than you think as long as you stay consistent. And you'll find your way, just like as Christian said, when you actually ask your audience, what do you want to see? What are you interested in? What do you think? What is your opinion? What is your advice? What is your tip? What is your perspective? Like saying that and let them tell you what they want. I'm telling you, it's going to make your blueprint, your path so much easier, so much clearer.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do a Facebook thing. A Facebook. So okay, so here's a question. It's a little bit more Facebook technical for streams. Then how about, because this is what I'm probably gonna try and do after this. I have multiple Facebook groups. They have multiple places in there. Can I post directly into those Facebook groups my live, or how do I get my live like streaming in all those groups, and then at the same time, and then going live with all of it, and then I can just literally just start talking to them, like asking them, hey, what type of stuff do you want to see in my channel? But because I'm a member of all those groups already, do I just post the stream or something, or how?
You gotta go to integrations and StreamYard, right, Christian?
Yeah. Yep.
But I think there's a certain number of you can go, depending on your account level.
Yeah, it depends on the number of destinations you got. So
yes, that's what destinations. Yeah.
So,
okay. Well, even if you know what I mean, even if there's only 3, I'll pick the top 3. You know what I mean? So that's no brainer. But that's interesting.
And just be mindful about what you're streaming. Like when you're trying to stream to various places, just make sure that you're not breaking any rules.
Oh yeah, I know there.
Group. So make sure you read the group. Every group should have rules. So if you do have a Facebook group, make sure you're setting up your own rules, but also make sure if you're trying to stream into a group, you don't want to be that person that like people then don't want to associate themselves with you based on like what you might be doing or how you might be doing things.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind with that.
Yeah, I'm definitely, that's one thing with everybody. When I started posting things for my YouTube channel, like I started realizing what groups I can't post in, what things. Then like there's one group that's just for inflatable repairs, and they let me post whatever I want as long as it's repair related. They don't let me post how-tos on setups or anything because it's just for repairs. So there's like learning those little nuances. I got kicked out of another group because they want to do the same thing, and I'm competing with him when I wanted to help him out. So then I'm not even in his group. I'm allowed to be in his group anymore. So I started my own Facebook group. I didn't even want to start a Facebook group. So so then it got to that point. And then there's other groups where I have the owner of that group on my channel talking. He's been a manufacturer for 30 years. So,
that's good.
And then there's a lot of major, like I have all 3 of the leading software companies on my channel already. I have a couple manufacturers, and I have a couple manufacturers talking about coming on the channel. There's a lot of traction with it. It's getting crazy, but I really like the interview and type style, like Joe Rogan type style stuff. And it's easy edits. I don't do anything. If I do all my planning beforehand and like all my main questions I put in as tickers or as things like that, and any other live stream questions come in, I can pull them up with their face on there too. So it keeps the stream I keep asking about trying to get more retention, and I wasn't doing that before this. And I think that in itself is going to improve my retention to where I won't need to do anything else anyways. But I still always like more tips and tricks, but
more.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's just, I want more and more. I want to be better. I'm not messing around and half button it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're in the hiring point in your business where maybe you need to hire one VA or something just to, because it looks like you want to do more. You want to create bigger and better ideas and more collaborations. Maybe you look into hiring one VA and have them help you out with some of the back end stuff, because that's what really gets us held up as entrepreneurs, is all the stuff we do on the back end.
My other guy is doing all the website work and all that. I don't have to touch anything.
That's a website designer, but who's actually like your soldier? Like who's like, I have one girl that's like, I have a bunch of VAs, but I have one girl, her name's Therese. She's like my soldier girl. She delegates everything out for me. So like, who is that? Hire somebody like that just can handle all the back end stuff. You have a designer that's working on the website. Now all the other back end stuff. Get somebody in to help you with that right away before you go into overwhelm.
How do you feel? Oh yeah, I feel there. Well, that's another thing, because these videos, I could sit here and talk to somebody for an hour, save it, talk to somebody else for another hour, save it.
Right. And let your team handle everything else in the back end.
it gets quick too, but I can get a lot of footage quick, so I can be like a month ahead of schedule if I wanted to, and then focus on more how-to videos and stuff like that. But
Right.
like, how about this question? So, what about when you're letting people do your back end and stuff? Would you recommend partnering up with somebody who's going to maintain a website or community with you, or would you recommend just having them build it and let you run everything, and you guys have different percentages?
Hire your own person to do that. I have several reasons why I don't partner with people, because I've had so many that's a whole nother live, but hire your own person and train them and then go from there. You know, I'm not into the partnership stuff. Because it's never 50-50. It's, you know what I mean? Either 80-20 or 75. It's like, and then it's just frustration. So I would rather just find someone, hire them, train them, and go from there.
Yeah, that's good advice. Very good advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're gonna have. Let me see if he's gonna join. I think Paul Ash might be joining here. So,
Ash?
any other questions you had, Justin?
Pretty much just what would your biggest what would you be most focused on for 2021 if you're live streaming?
Getting people on my list. Because like you said it yourself, Justin, you said
I'm trying to already.
What if Facebook shuts down? You know, what are you going to do? It's like you want to constantly, you know, email marketing is going to be that thing that's going to keep your business going, you know, and that's
text marketing's 2021. And there's big things in
but you got to pivot people from email to text. Not everybody's going to give you out their phone number if they don't trust you. So once you get them on your list, you engage. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. There's a lag, and that's what I hate about because I think it's my laptop. Because like you'll be not talking, and then I'll go in, and it's like, oh no, she's talking again, and I hear it. It's wild. That's what I want. I definitely want to get off the PC for sure. Or not off the PC, off my laptop and onto a PC.
Laptop to PC. I agree. I'm gonna start doing that too. Yeah, but I like the laptop because you can bring your laptop anywhere. That's the whole thing.
I'd say this. I mean, I'd say the one piece of advice I'd say community would be what I would focus on. So I'd focus on getting that community, because what a lot of people do is they start streaming, but they don't have the community. And if you have the community, it's almost like waves, I guess. So it's like the community, it builds and it crests, and then you know, you might lose some people, then you might bring some more and more and more, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And it's not going to, like, if you don't have the community, it also, like as I mentioned earlier, it works against you sometimes, because it may be very just disheartening. Like, hey, I'm doing a show and I don't have anybody tuning in. At least if you have the community, you're going to have that tribe that's going to follow you around. So thanks for joining us today.
Problem, man. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime. And I'm going to bring on Paul here. Do you have a couple more minutes, Letitia? I
sure do. And there's another third-party community I found out about called, I'm not affiliated with them at all, but it's called group.app. They're starting to get more bigger because like, you know, what was his name? Justin said, you know, what if Facebook shuts down one day or glitches or whatever? Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So let's bring on Paul, see if he's got any questions. And then I'll stream for a little bit longer here, and then we'll figure out, we'll actually do next week's show. So let me go and bring on Paul. Paul, good to have you, by the way. Thanks for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you. I feel I'm not at my regular studio, so I'm a little discombobulated, but it's all good.
Good. And you're on mobile. I mean, that's the thing. Like you're able to be on mobile joining StreamYard. So desktop, mobile, it really. I'm basically a Luddite, so StreamYard has just allowed me to be online. Like prior to the lockdowns, like I'm a performer, so I'm a stand-up comic and actor, and I've gone around, you know, live stages, and I always thought, I should do a podcast on that idea or whatever, and I never really felt the impetus because I always had the creative outlet of live stages, and since lockdown, though, that has kind of burned us in the live performance industry. And so I had
two very distinct shows. So I started doing them live, and my YouTube has gotten up to over 200 subscribers. But I'm having a little trouble hearing Letitia. But I ended up, now I'm putting out content, and the analytics are telling me that it is, how can I say it? The analytics are telling me that the people are coming in for one show. When they get prompted to watch the other show, they might unsubscribe, or they're not watching the videos. So now I'm at the point that I'm sort of like going to burn down my main YouTube channel to create channels for the other content.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to a few people. A lot of people suggest doing it for one content, but not for everything. And right now I have 3 distinct type of shows that don't match my core channel. And I'm not a big enough personality that people can just come to my channel because of who I am. So I'm doing a geek game show where it's a panel comedy show. I'm doing a love, sex, and relationship advice show, which I do with burlesque performers and sex educators. And then I also have a talk show, which is more of a deep dive into stand-up comedy and writing. And what sort of advice do you have for the fact that I have those like 3 niches that I'm going into?
I will say this: if you're streaming all those to walk me through which channel, how you're kind of streaming that. So is it
all of them I stream? All of them have their own Facebook fan pages. But I've also started utilizing YouTube, and I'm badly utilizing Twitch, to the point that I'm thinking that it might just be a bit of a distraction, because sometimes the trolls come in on Twitch.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
For now.
Okay. So you're streaming. So you're basically streaming. So you've got 3 separate channels, which makes sense for like 3 Facebook pages. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Now, but you are streaming them into this same YouTube channel, right? So you don't have 3 separate YouTube channels. Is that right?
Correct. I just created it and started doing it, and it's a bit of a slow start. I did, each channel has about 10. I've only because I only did it this past month, and each channel has about 10 followers, subscribers now. Whereas
it's still very early though.
Yeah, it's I know, I understand it's very early, and I'm wanting to take the time to give it a go. And I know that the content is good because like if we include Facebook, I've got over 14,000 views between YouTube and Facebook in the past since March or May of last year.
Yeah.
So I would say this. I mean, the one thing you have to pay attention to here is and I want to touch on 2 things here. So the one thing you mentioned was, okay, if I start off on like you mentioned, you've got like a small ramp, basically. You haven't started much. If it were me, I would set it up right regardless. I would say, I think that you need to have different YouTube channels. Now, here's the reason why. It's not necessarily the fact that part of it is like, yeah, okay, I have certain people subscribing to my channel and they may not be interested in those topics. That's part of it. But the bigger picture at play here is YouTube. So YouTube has an algorithm, and they listen to the content, do all that other stuff. But the thing is, for example, if I'm sending 3 different distinct pieces of content to their on YouTube, they are then potentially looking at that as different things in the algorithm. So they don't know what to recommend to people.
Yeah, you confuse them. It's like you're bipolar. Like, wait a minute.
That's the kind of thing. But I like everyone says, if you get a niche among your channels, make a separate channel. But the fact that I'm trying to do like 3 different channels on top of my regular channel all at once. And since I've started, I have streamed to both my main channel and then the sub niche channel at the same time. And anyone who goes to my main YouTube page, I have put the channels at the very top. So people can see, oh, okay, I'm here for Battlecom, or I'm here for the Love Doctor, like, and they can click on that and subscribe to that channel if that's the content that they're most interested in.
Well, and that's where like having the different YouTube channels, I think, would be the most important part here. So if you have the different YouTube channels, you can play them against one another. But I wouldn't necessarily advise that, because like you can always go, like, if you have one channel that talks about topic A, and another talks about topic B, you can always have channel A go to channel B and add their video to a playlist. But the key thing is the algorithm. As Tisha mentioned, you are confusing the algorithm. And I'll even give you the example of, I'll give you an example of language. If I want to talk in English or I want to talk in Spanish, and I say, hey, I'm gonna do it on the same channel. The problem with that is that it's confusing to the YouTube algorithm. They don't know what my channel's about. Right. Even if it's in English and Spanish, and they can translate it, it's still, I'm also reaching two distinct audiences. So I would recommend having different channels for each one. Now, I look at it as like this. I look at it as the bucket model. The bucket model is I have one channel about this, one about this, and one about this. And I do this video, and then I move to the next one, and I do the next one, and I rinse, wash, and repeat. Next one, next one, next one. So I'm building those. And then you see which one's going to get the most traction. So for example, bucket A might get the most traction, and maybe B and C take a back seat for right now.
That's right. That's what
you said. Do them, get really good at one.
Okay.
And build the other ones.
That's what I was about to say. Like, which three of those themes that you have that is getting the most traction on Facebook, and then make that its own channel for now, and then later on incorporate everything else. You know, I have 3-4 different businesses, but I don't promote all my businesses on one platform. I promote one of my businesses and then show my audience everything else on the back end. That's how I do it, because I can't manage 4 or 5 different channels or platforms. I just can't. Even with the team, it's not going to happen. Because, you know, like Christian said, you're going to confuse your algorithms, and you're also going to confuse your audience as well sometimes. So, you know, it's like, what is the main topic that people are enjoying the most? Like you said, you have 3 different channels, 3 different themes. Which one has the most engagement, the most excitement, and then just focus on that one.
The part of it is there's the game show, which I'll have 5 guests on, but it requires pre-writing on the topic and the content, and it's much more time intensive to do.
Yeah.
So I'm only doing it monthly, but that is the one that has the largest like Facebook fan page.
Okay, so focus on that one and get somebody to help you with all the planning stuff, the stuff that you have to do before you actually do that show.
Okay, because I'm able to
let it go, which we have sometimes difficulty doing, is knowing what to let go and what to hit the ground running with.
like the talk show one I'm doing twice a week, and so it's easy to get that content, and it's not repetitive because I'm dealing with different comedians and talking about their style and their writing process, but that's very niche to who it goes to, because not everyone, it's more directed at a comedians and comedy writers, whereas the third one is more linked to a live venue show that I used to do here before the bars were shut down, and it's very community based, and it has a strong following, and that one's weekly. So I've got one show that's monthly, one that's twice a week, and one that's every week. And the one that's twice a week is the one that probably needs the most building, but it's also the one that's the narrowest niche, like because it's not getting the numbers.
Which one of these are profitable for you?
Right now, they're probably the one that is weekly is the most profitable, because I'm working off of donations for it.
There you go.
And my channel is yet to be monetized, and by restarting the channels, that means the slog to get monetized is going to take longer.
That's right.
I mean, and the other thing, like to Letitia's point there, I mean, just make sure that like whatever you're gonna, whatever you're putting the time in, make sure you can monetize it. So like as you're adding, or as you're adding like different things, like you just have to remember, like the time, but then which one's going to have the most return on investment?
That's
So like if you're putting in a lot of time, if you're not necessarily getting anything out of it, then
That's right.
make that your
You're
hobby
gonna
project.
Yeah, and then you're going to have resentment towards it. You're going to end up hating the thing that you're working so much time, energy, and effort on, and you don't want that to happen.
Thankfully, I love all the projects that I'm doing, and the main purpose pre-COVID for my YouTube channel was to support my live career, and so all of these sort of have aid the live career, and when the lockdown ends, I'm going to be known better in various circles because of the fact that people have been tuning in, once a month or once a week or twice a week to see these shows. And it has helped grow my brand, which is a real hard thing to talk about how profitable it is, because it's not a financial gain, but there is a face recognition gain. Because it's what I do outside of YouTube, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be something that you're going to. I mean, as I mentioned, it's a bit of a hobby, so you want to make sure you pick the right ones versus just putting the time into things that people are not necessarily like. They're important to you, but they're not necessarily. Maybe they're not important to your audience.
That's
so
right.
you're gonna you want to do what's going to serve your partly what's going to serve your audience.
Yeah.
Make sure it's obviously something that you're interested in, but at the same time, the more you spend the time on it, you need to be building the audience. And if you're not getting the return on investment, like it's great, but it's just a hobby at that point. So, Letitia, do you want anything else?
That is important I know you mentioned that it's about the brand and the recognition, but it is important that you are getting some type of return. At the end of the day, it is important because even we're in a new era, and even when if the lockdown is over, it's still, you got to think of the consumers may not still come out like they used to before the lockdown. So still, you have to build that online revenue and making sure that it's profitable, because it could be another wave or another strand of the, I know we can't say the C word online.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like,
I'm about to say it. So look at that, and like I said, we as entrepreneurs, sometimes we do have really, challenges with not getting rid of, but putting certain things on hold, because our passion drives us more than the money. I've been like, I'm just so passionate about this, even though there's nothing going in my bank account. But we got to do that process. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, part of it is to get the channels up to being monetized, and this was the thing. I saw great, and immediately sort of a good growth with each niche that I was touching on the main channel. But then studying the analytics, I began to see that, I was losing people after, like where I had 2 streams of the same type in a row, I'm not losing people. But when I have, when a different flavor or niche is being addressed, then I'm losing people. And so I wanted to make sure that I could address that. That's why I split up the channel. But that also puts me further back towards getting monetization on YouTube.
That's right.
I mean, I have been approached by people to be a brand representative on stuff, but I don't want to be a brand representative for stuff that I don't use. I don't want to use.
Right. Yep, it goes into the collaboration part that the last person on here said, and that's fine too. Continue to do it. Do you by on your own? I totally agree with that.
Definitely. Do you have any other questions?
No, primarily it was that looking. I guess I keep on asking the same question and getting the same answer, but no, focus just on one instead of doing all 3. But I feel like I'd be leaving some of my audience behind if I only focused on one. And
Letitia, what do you think about that?
I don't necessarily think you're going to be leaving your audience behind. If the numbers, everything's about numbers. If your numbers is showing one thing versus what you're assuming in your head, you're going to end up always having that battle with yourself mentally. The numbers are showing you is that this is what your audience is gravitating to. This is what they want. So you have to do that. And you also have to think of the fact that you're probably a one-man show and you can't manage 3 different platforms on Facebook and on YouTube and wherever else you want to show up on. So it's not you saying you're going to delete the other 2 things. You're just saying, I'm just going to put on hold a little bit for right now until I get this one channel, this one avenue monetized and profitable, and then focusing on everything else. It's like Amazon. When Amazon first came out, they were known for just selling books, you know, that's what they focused on. And now look at Amazon. So if, you know, obviously we all want to be successful, but we have to do the same thing that successful people have done and not get in our own heads and saying, well, my passion is in these 4 different things. I want to talk about these 4 different things. And then you constantly noticing you're going further away from your destination, your goal, because you want to do what you want to do, right? Instead of what the numbers are telling you.
Right.
Definitely. Nope. That's a really good point. I mean, it's you know, and to what Mo Farmer said here, you know, it's all about the numbers. Like, yeah, I mean, and without the community, there's no monetization. So you have to, like, as much as you want to do all this other stuff, you need to make sure that you spend the time doing the things that are going to help you, you know, grow the stream. And part of that is having, you know, it's having partly the equipment, having the right equipment, for example. But at the same time, it comes down to mainly it's the topic that you're talking about. And you may find, like, you may find the right topic, like, right off the bat. And then, you know, but you do need to experiment. You need to try different ones. If the first one hits, great. But a lot of people go in there expecting, hey, they got this awesome idea and it's going to take off. And it doesn't always take off. Sometimes it's like, you got to kiss a few, like, frogs to find your Prince Charming or something like that. Right. I mean, it's the same thing though. You know, you have to try out different things for streaming. Like, what's actually going to help you move the needle? Like, is that the right topic for streaming? Maybe maybe it needs to be presented a different way, you know? And you won't ever know that unless you experiment with different ones. So fantastic. Okay. So let me see if there's any more questions here. But Paul, thanks a lot, by the way, for jumping in.
My pleasure.
And hopefully helped answer your questions.
Yep.
So
most definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. Let me, thank you again. And I'll see you next week, actually, hopefully.
Yeah. And I'll prep better questions.
Oh, all good. All good.
Again, those are great.
So thanks, Paul.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's important. He touched on that part. That's a struggle for entrepreneurs. It is, because we're not just, you know, we're more than just the idea that we're presenting every day. You know, most of us have multiple businesses, but it's like, which one does your audience mostly care about first? Definitely. You know, that's not always, like what he said. He keeps asking the same question and we're giving him the same answer. But again, it's him saying, well, I don't want it. I'm struggling with that, you know, with the answer. So I get it. I get it.
It makes a lot of sense. No, definitely. So I think we've got, if you have any more questions, I'll wait for a couple more minutes here. If you put in #ask in the YouTube chat, I'm happy to bring you on if we need to, or I can answer the question right there. But again, I mean, this show is all about helping you improve your live stream, whether that's, you know, walking through a concept or whether it's, you know, hey, how do I attract more people to my lives? I know, Letitia, I value you helping me join. Well, joining in and then helping me also with a lot of these questions. Because I think that it's all important, you know, that people need to realize when you're streaming, it's not the equipment, you know, it's the equipment is a part of it. It's the equipment to, like, for example, to help you do your job, or in this case, to help you, your job is to produce a good quality show, to impart your knowledge. So it's not about having the most expensive equipment. It's about having the right equipment for what you're doing, you know, and making do with what you're having, like what you're doing. So for example, like Letitia, I think you're on a mobile device, right? Tablet, maybe?
Yep.
So for example, tablet. So, you know, again, I mean, if a tablet is what you have, use the tablet, for example.
Use it.
You know, if you're, like, for example, both you and Paul, Letitia, were, or Paul was like, hey, I'm not at my computer. I'm like, well, it doesn't bother me. I want you to come on, because you can show, like, it's about what your questions are. Maybe they're going to help spur someone else, you know, who's going to have a question. So, but with that, I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up, I guess. So
right.
Letitia, fantastic having you on. I'll shoot you a private message after this, but thanks a lot for joining me.
I'll show up every week if you want me here. I love this conversation. I love it.
Okay. We'll have that conversation offline. Yeah, let's talk afterwards.
Yes, let's.
Okay, so with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to my first live stream review, and based on your feedback, I guess I should do this every week. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and schedule this. We'll do it again. What's today? Saturday? I keep losing track of the days of the week. But next Saturday. So we'll do this next Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. If you have any questions, again, you can join this show, or there's also there's the Facebook group as well that you're welcome to join there as well. If you have questions about certain things, be sure you go check that out. I'll give you the link to join. And this is our Facebook community. There's 18,000 plus people there. So a lot of people, lots of questions, lots of good information, but feel free to join that. I will see you all next Saturday. And in the meantime, stop by, feel free to reach out, connect, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Because again, I mean, this is all about helping you. So not to put anybody on the spot from, for this one. So if you have questions, that it's next week, bring your questions. We'll bring you on, and we'll make it work. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and have a great rest of the week. Bye, everyone.